Chapter 334. Mu Xiong? You are Mu Xiong. Zhu Jie suddenly realized something and looked at Yang Yi in surprise. Mu Xiong was Murphy's man? This made sense. No wonder he could write 12 songs for Mo Fei, which was unprecedented. Yang Yi wanted Zhu Jie to know his identity. He smiled faintly and said, "It seems that you are very smart. But smart people should know that since I can make you famous, I also have the ability to make you go back to your original state. The record of our previous transaction is still there. At most, I will give up the money and Mu Xiong's reputation. I will sue you to get back the copyright of this song. Guess what the judge will say?" Yang Yi threatened in a low voice. Needless to say, the copyright would definitely be awarded back to Yang Yi. The copyright protection in this world was very strict. There was a similar case before. A songwriter sued a singer in court, saying that he was cheated by the singer and sold his song. But he didn't know that he had also sold the copyright of his work. So the judge confiscated the money from the illegal transaction and gave the copyright back to the original author. He said that he was cheated, but who could tell whether it was a transaction or not? Maybe he felt that he had lost money after selling it, so he pretended not to know. Of course, once this matter was exposed, Yang Yi wouldn't be able to get any benefits even if he got back the copyright of the third party. Mu Xiong's reputation would plummet and he would be despised by everyone. It could be said that it would be a life and death struggle. It was definitely not worth it, and it would affect Murphy. Yang Yi just wanted to scare Zhu Jie. But Zhu Jie believed it and was scared. They had considered the consequences before buying the song. But he and Du Luan thought that Mu Xiong cherished his reputation and wouldn't do something like that. But now it seemed that Yang Yi was very crazy. He dared to kill him. How could he not do such a small thing? It would be better to kill Zhu Jie than to turn him from a popular person to a despised person. It was easy to go from frugal to extravagant, but difficult to go from extravagant to frugal. Now that Zhu Jie was used to the glory of being a celebrity, he was also afraid of losing it. "I already said that I won't dare to provoke Sister Murphy anymore. What else do you want?" Zhu Jie couldn't help but cry like a little wife. "At most, I'll compensate you with money. Don't kill me, and don't take this song away. It wasn't easy for me to become famous. It was quite sad. Those who heard it were sad, and those who heard it shed tears. Are you scared now? Why didn't you feel at ease singing your songs before? You spend all day pondering about some crooked ways?" Yang Yi was secretly delighted. It was exactly as he had imagined. Zhu Jie sobbed and said, "I just wanted to win the championship." Yang Yi's tone relaxed a little and said lightly, "If you want to be number one, you still need time to accumulate. You want to become a god with one song? You think the entertainment circle is too simple. Originally, I thought that you were quite interesting. I wanted to write another song for you to make you popular again. But it seems that your performance really dissatisfied me." Yang Yi finally showed his dates. "Really? You really want to write another song for me?" Yang Yi said so much, but Zhu Jie only heard one sentence. He stopped crying and looked at Yang Yi in surprise. Mu Xiong's songs were really godly. Now that Zhu Jie saw Chen Yijie, Murphy and his own achievements, he already had a blind worship for Mu Xiong. A song, Mistress, made him popular. If he wrote another one, wouldn't he ascend to heaven? "Do you think it's possible? You've made me want to kill you." Yang Yi chuckled. "I can change it. I can make up for it. When I go back, I'll immediately tell my aunt, and that is, Sister Ling, tell her not to find trouble with Murphy. Then, I promise that I won't think of these crooked things again." Zhu Jie quickly said. His current performance was like a primary school student who did something wrong and begged his mother for another chance. "That's not enough. I need you to be my eyes and ears in Tianmei. If there's any movement against Murphy, you have to inform me." Yang Yi looked into his eyes and said, "You can rest assured. Don't even talk about informing. If anyone dares to touch our Sister Murphy, I'll be the first to disagree." Zhu Jie twisted on the pillar and said excitedly, "My dad has shares in Tianmei. No one dares to disobey my words. But now, Ju Jie had changed sides. For the sake of the song Mu Zi Ang, he began to join Mo Fei's camp. What is backbone? Ju Jie has never seen it before. Yang Yi was overjoyed. Originally, he said that this guy was interesting, but now it seemed that he was really a little interesting. With this kind of appearance, he might even be a promising talent. If I do this, will you be able to write a song for me? Ju Jie timidly looked at Yang Yi and asked. Yang Yi didn't say a word. Suddenly, he lit up his knife and slashed at Ju Jie. As he screamed in horror, the rope that tied him up broke and he floated down like a butterfly. Ju Jie closed his eyes for a while and screamed for a while. Only then did he realize that he was fine and could move. He felt around his body to make sure that he wasn't short. Only then did he turn his head to look at Yang Yi in shock. Just talk and no action won't do. Whether I'll write a song for you or not depends on your performance. Yang Yi smoothly sheathed his knife and lightly said. Don't worry, Mu Xiang. Big brother, just watch. I will definitely perform well. I guarantee that no one will touch Sister Murphy. Ju Jie patted his chest. Scheming against each other was actually very tiring. Yang Yi didn't like himself. Fortunately, in the afternoon, when he received Shi, the little girl's innocent smile blew away the haze in Yang Yi's heart. Papa, Papa, let me tell you something big. The little girl hugged her father's neck and said softly in her father's ear. A sincere smile appeared on Yang Yi's face. What big thing? It's me, Chen Shiyun, Xian Air, Chi-Chi, and Nan Zhaoyu. We are going to act in a movie. She counted the names with her fingers and said. Ah. Why do you want to act in a movie? What movie? Yang Yi raised his eyebrows. Could it be that there is a blind boy who dares to deceive my daughter? The knife is still hidden in the trunk. Acting in Papa's movie. She said matter-of-factly. Chen Shiyun, Xian Air, Chi-Chi, and Nan Zhaoyu are all super fond of acting in movies. Hee, I also want to act in a movie. Then we will all act in Papa's movie. It seemed that the little girl didn't care about the rules at all. In her opinion, acting in a movie was like eating and drinking. There was no need for any audition at all. She could act as long as she came. Who told you that you can act in Papa's movie? Yang Yi was confused by his daughter's logic. No one. I told them that. Acting in a movie is super fun. She looked at her father confusedly and said. At this time, Lan Xian had already jumped over. Uncle Yang, I want to act in a movie with you. Now it's about acting in a movie with me? The children's ability to understand was really strange. Not acting in a movie with Uncle. Uncle doesn't act in a movie. Yang Yi said with a headache. Hee, Xian Air, you're acting in a movie with me. She looked down from her father's arms and said with a smile. Okay then, I'll act in a movie with Shi. Lan Xian's mind was filled with delicious food. She licked her lips and said expectantly, Uncle Yang, can we? How could it be? In this micro-movie of his, there were no children's roles. How could he squeeze in so many children? Moreover, if he randomly changed the script, it would be strange if Du Yuanlei was willing. Yang Yi had an idea and said, That's not possible. You have to ask your father first. Your father has to agree. My father? Lan Xian tilted her head and thought for a while. She pulled Yang Yi's hand and pleaded, Uncle Yang, can you call my father and ask him if it's possible? He's not at home. Chapter 335. Looking at Lan Xian's hopeful eyes and she's pleading for her father's help, Yang Yi had no choice but to take out his phone and call Lan Hao Kai. While waiting for the busy Lan Hao Kai to answer the phone, Yang Yi gave Lan Xian a heads-up. Xair, let me tell you first, your father probably won't agree. Before he could finish, the phone was picked up and Lan Hao Kai's loud voice came through. Brother Yang, it's rare for you to take the initiative to call me. What's the matter? Yang Yi told him about Lan Xian and a few other girls who wanted to join him in a movie. He tried to make the situation worse. Mine is just a micro-movie, a small movie. It's not a big production at all, and they're still so young. I'm afraid they don't know how to make it and can't bear the hardships. What Yang Yi wanted to hear now was Lan Hao Kai's rejection. He had even simulated the lines for Boss Lan. No, what movie? Isn't this nonsense? What do a few brats know? However, Lan Hao Kai's indifferent voice came through the phone. So it's about this. It's no big deal. Xian Air also told me that she wanted to act in a movie. I thought it was something big. Anyway, it's just a small production. Why don't I invest some money in you and you can ask the director if he can add a few more people? Lan Hao Kai's voice was as loud as his daughter's. Lan Xian and she both heard it. The two girls looked at each other excitedly. However, Yang Yi was a little confused. The script was different from what he had imagined. Hey brother Yang, go ahead and ask. How much money do they want? Is 2 million enough? The cap is 10 million. Ask the director to name a price. Do you hear me? Brother Yang, brother Yang. Lan Hao Kai's voice kept coming from the phone. No need for money. It's not about money. Yang Yi smiled bitterly. Then what's the problem? Hey, it's not a big deal. Isn't it just a few kids who want to play? Lan Hao Kai was a little confused. Or is there a problem with your director? Yang Yi could only sigh. There's no problem with anyone. Okay, since you agree to let them act in the movie, I'll think of a way. Lan Hao Kai said with satisfaction. That's it, if you need money, tell me, I'll give you 10 million first. Yang Yi said perfunctorily and hung up on Lan Hao Kai. Yang's mothers also said. She, my father agreed, I want to act in the movie to act. I'll act and said. She, my father agree, I'll act to act with you. Yes, to me. Yes, A's twos, yeses, to acts ss2, hers, her a. At this moment. To be a to make to act. Yang Yi looked at his daughter's happy appearance and shook his head helplessly. Forget it, I won't ask the other children's parents for their opinions. I'll think of a way to solve it myself. Anyway, there are already 2 children. In the evening, after Yang Yi coaxed Shi to sleep, he went to the study and turned on the computer that had been turned on all the time. There was a recording program running on the computer screen. According to the program, every hour's recording would be divided into separate files and saved. Yang Yi had listened to the recording in the afternoon. He put on his headphones, clicked on the new audio, and listened to it at 2 times the speed. The sounds in the headphones were all the conversations between Zhu Jie, the people around him, and the people he was calling. Today, when he went to deal with Murphy's matter, Yang Yi didn't act rashly. On the contrary, he made a lot of preparations, such as Plan A and Plan B. Plan B was to observe Zhu Jie's reaction. If this person was too shrewd and difficult to control, Yang Yi wouldn't mind feeding him to the fishes. Fortunately, Zhu Jie was just like what he knew. This person was a playboy but was as timid as a mouse. Thus, Plan A was carried out exceptionally smoothly. Even so, it seemed that Yang Yi had completely trusted Zhu Jie and had taken him in as one of his own. However, in reality, Yang Yi didn't let his guard down. He still had a trick up his sleeve. When Zhu Jie was unconscious, Yang Yi had already placed a listening device in Zhu Jie's phone. Fortunately, mobile phones in this era could all be replaced with batteries, so it wasn't difficult to remove the back cover. This listening device was made by Yang Yi himself. It was a piece of advanced technology that he had brought over from his previous life. He only needed to use a new mobile phone card that could go online as a transmission medium to transmit the content of the eavesdropping to the computer in Yang Yi's study, which was more than 10 kilometers away. Of course, the power source was also stolen from Zhu Jie's phone. It wouldn't be long before Zhu Jie complained that his phone was broken. Speaking of eavesdropping, it was necessary to mention Yang Yi's supplementary plan to Plan A. If Zhu Jie didn't listen and went back on his words, as long as Yang Yi felt that there was a slight threat, he would mercilessly erase him and the person who leaked the information from this world. He wouldn't give them a chance to expose themselves. However, the recording in the afternoon was still okay. Zhu Jie was still in shock. He was trembling at home and talking to himself for a long time, but he didn't have any intention of calling the police or taking revenge on Murphy. Instead, after he calmed down, he became arrogant. He felt that he was riding on Mu Xiong's coattails and that he wouldn't have to worry about food and clothing anymore. He was also obsessed with himself, thinking that one day he would become the most famous singer. After Yang Yi heard this, he didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He lowered his guard against this idiot a lot. He was also temporarily relieved to pick up Shi and bring her back. There was a new development in the evening. From the content of the eavesdropping, after Zhu Jie came back to his senses, he couldn't wait to call Niu Meiling and ask her to cancel the hype plan. He even said with conviction, "Auntie, I've thought it through. I want to become the most powerful man in the Chinese music industry, so I don't need this hype at all." Naturally, Niu Meiling was almost angered to death by Zhu Jie's change. Who was the one who shamelessly begged her for help? Now that her relationship with Murphy was a little strained, he changed his mind and said that he didn't want to play this game anymore? Niu Meiling couldn't help but put on the airs of an elder and scolded Zhu Jie sternly. However, Zhu Jie was like a dead pig that wasn't afraid of being scalded. He smiled and begged for mercy. Niu Meiling really couldn't do anything to him. So this matter was perfectly resolved? Yang Yi temporarily let go of his worries and put down his earphones. However, the eavesdropping would still continue. Yang Yi had to observe for a few days and confirm that Zhu Jie was no longer a threat before he completely let him go. Zhu Jie's problem could be said to be resolved for the time being, but Yang Yi's own problem had just emerged. He held the script of the fairy tale and carefully pondered over it, looking for a scene that could fit these little girls in. The number of scenes was not important. As long as they could act in a scene, it would be good enough. However, no matter how he looked, Yang Yi couldn't find a scene in this micro-movie that was suitable for children to appear in. Not to mention children, other than the two main leads, there weren't many other supporting roles in this movie. He couldn't just forcefully change the script, right? Wouldn't that be ruining a classic? Yang Yi couldn't do such a thing. What should he do? Got it. Yang Yi suddenly thought of an idea. Chapter 336. The next day, Shi was saying goodbye to her father at the gate of the kindergarten, but she happened to bump into Yang Luoqi, who was sent by her mother on a women's motorcycle. The little girl cried out in surprise and immediately ran over. She pulled her friend, who had just gotten off the car, and said, "Chi, let me tell you, my father said that we can act in a movie." Exiner knows. She really wanted to tell her friends the good news, and she had been holding it in for the whole night. So much so that Cici only remembered to greet her after she finished speaking. She waved her cute cotton-gloved hands and called out obediently, "Hello, Auntie Wu. Your father is so nice, then we can play together again." Yang Luoqi tugged at the scarf covering her face, and a joyful smile appeared on her face. The two girls were in a good mood the whole morning. After bidding farewell to their respective parents, they held hands and chatted as they walked into the kindergarten. Wu Yu was free at this time. She straddled the women's motorcycle and put on the gloves that she had taken off to tie the collar of her daughter's woolen hat. She smiled and said to Yang Yi, "I didn't expect it to be true. Chi has been talking about it at home for the past 2 days. I thought it was a joke between the children." Yang Yi shook his head with a wry smile and said, "No, I was also caught off guard." Suddenly, Shi ran over with a few children and said that they wanted to act in a movie. If it was only Shi who asked, I could find an excuse to make them give up the idea, but Xionair's father also joined in the fun. After figuring out the ins and outs of the matter, Wu Yu understood. She smiled and said, "So that's the case." The children misunderstood. You have to tell Shi clearly what kind of promise can't be made to others easily in the future. Otherwise, she will suffer losses in the future. Yang Yi nodded in agreement. As for Chi, I'll go back and explain it to her, okay? You don't have to think about her. She has really brought you so much trouble. Wu Yu hesitated and said, "That won't be necessary. I thought of an idea last night. I'll ask the director to arrange a scene for them. They'll play the part of the audience. However, this scene was filmed separately and will not be edited into the main movie. After the filming is done, I will get the director to help make an additional video and insert this scene into our micro-movie. We will burn it into a disc and give it to the children's parents, Yang Yi said. To put it bluntly, they were spending extra money to film a scene of the children. However, the video that included this unplanned scene would only be seen by the children and their parents for fun. For example, Wu Yu. You can show this movie to Chi-Chi later. That way, she will also think that she has filmed a movie. Yang Yi smiled bitterly and said, I have no choice. In order not to affect the quality of the movie, I can only tell the children a white lie. Don't worry, Yang Yi. It's not easy for you either. I understand. It doesn't matter if it's really a movie or not. As long as the children have fun during the filming process, it will be a good experience for them. Wu Yu comforted Yang Yi with a smile. Yang Yi had this idea, but he had not discussed it with Du Yuanlei. He was even a little worried that Du Yuanlei might misunderstand his intentions. However, as a movie investor who had been married for the first time, he had underestimated the director's ability to bear the consequences. Although Du Yuanlei was just a small-time director without any fame, what kind of scene had she not seen before? Other investors would directly stuff people in to be the main lead or ask me to change the plot. Teacher Yang, your small request is much better than those. Du Yuanlei smiled after listening to Yang Yi's words. Yang Yi's tone of discussion and the fact that he took the initiative to ask for an independent scene made Du Yuanlei feel touched. But there's no need to film a scene for the children. I have an idea. Du Yuanlei said to Yang Yi. After Su Shesher's nose bled, didn't a Guang bring her to the hospital for a checkup? We can add an extra scene here. When they walk through the hospital hall, the children will be in the background. There are 5 children in the hospital? Wouldn't it be a little abrupt? Yang Yi knitted his brows and said, This isn't a hospital for women and children. Then we will have to give these children a good setting. For example, one of them will wear a bandage and pretend to break his arm. Then the other children will come to visit him. Of course, we will also need an adult to take care of them. Du Yuanlei smiled as she pointed at Yang Yi. Me? Yang Yi was surprised. He did not expect that he would be involved in this matter. That's right. Teacher Yang, you will naturally have to participate. With you taking care of them, the children will be obedient. Du Yuanlei said with a smile. What am I acting for? I don't even know how to act. Yang Yi knitted his brows and bitterly smiled. You don't need to know how to act. You will just be in the background. The camera will just sweep past you. Brother Yang, don't you want the children to be in the camera? This is the best opportunity. You don't have to lie to them. This is really filming. Yang Yi actually thought that Du Yuanlei's idea was quite good. They could put the 5 children into this micro-movie without leaving any trace. It would not be abrupt or unreasonable. But to ask him to act? But who asked him to be involved with these little guys? Who asked Shi to boast in front of her friends? Yang Yi felt that he really had to talk to Shi about this problem. Okay, we will follow your arrangement. But I have one more request. I want the only boy among the 5 children to wear a bandage. Yang Yi gritted his teeth and said to Du Yuanlei. Du Yuanlei was stunned for a moment and smiled. This is not a problem. It is the same for any child as long as he is willing. Willing, of course he is willing. If he is not willing, then I will give him a discount. Who asked him to revolve around my daughter all day? At noon, as expected, Yang Yi received a call from Murphy. Murphy, who had recorded a radio program in the early hours of the morning, should have just woken up. But she was in good spirits and her voice was filled with joy. Yang Yi, Sister Ling suddenly called me today. She apologized to me for what happened 2 days ago. Her attitude was very good. Murphy was relieved of a burden and was in a happy mood. She was anxious to share this news with Yang Yi, she also promised me that this time she was just obsessed and listened to other people's slanderous words. In the future, she will not bother me with this kind of thing and let me sing in peace. Sure enough, it was Sister Ling. Yang Yi secretly sneered in his heart. All of a sudden, she had cleanly pushed herself away and even put on an attitude of admitting her mistake and changing. Murphy, after she said that, are you going to forgive her? Yang Yi couldn't help but ask. How can that be? I am still very angry, but I did not continue to be in a deadlock with Sister Ling. Even if she apologized, I feel that I have seen what kind of person Sister Ling is. Next time, if possible, she will still not care about my feelings and arrange some bad things for me. Murphy felt that Yang Yi had misunderstood her. She said with some grievance, Anyway, after the contract is over, I don't want to renew it with Sister Ling. I want to open a studio with you. For this record, I will work hard and strive to get good results. It can be considered as repaying Sister Ling for taking care of me for more than 10 years. Well, it's best that you can understand. Yang Yi laughed. This guy is actually looking down on me. Murphy rebuked Yang Yi. Then she paused and asked, Yang Yi, tell me the truth. For Sister Ling to have such a big change, was it because of you? After Murphy received Niu Meiling's call, she had been suspicious of this question. She felt that Niu Meiling's sudden 180-degree change in attitude was very strange. Yeah. Yang Yi didn't explain much and only responded with a nasal sound. There was no need to let Murphy know the details. Murphy also didn't want to know the details. She didn't like such complicated things. After getting the answer she wanted, she was moved and said, Thank you, Yang Yi. You have always supported me. Chapter 337. In the past few days, Du Yuanlei had finished filming the scene indoors, and the crew had left the house. Yang Huan's eyes darted around, and she looked back 3 times with every step she took. She slowly moved to Yang Yi's booth. Big brother. Yang Huan sat opposite Yang Yi and called out softly. She even dragged her voice, which was completely different from her usual energetic self. What's wrong? Yang Yi closed the book in his hand and raised his eyebrows. Yang Yi had long noticed her movements, but he didn't say anything and didn't take the initiative to speak. This girl must have something to ask of him, and it might not be a small matter. Yang Huan didn't get straight to the point. Instead, she started to talk about family matters. Big brother, didn't you send money to us a few days ago? Second brother told me that Mom and Dad wanted to use the money to build a new house for him. He could use it when he got married after the new year, but second brother didn't agree. He wanted to renovate our house first so that you could have a place to stay at home. Yang Qing also knew that Yang Yi had a child, but he was still helping to hide it. The 3 of them had discussed this matter together. Instead of saying it in advance and making it hard for the parents to accept, it was better to wait until the spring festival, when Yang Yi brought the whole family back. For the sake of his eldest granddaughter, Father Yang wouldn't break Yang Yi's legs, right? It was also because of the issue of the child that Yang Qing had to think more. He felt that it was not a problem for Yang Yi to come back by himself, but when the child came back, he could not be like them, living in a dilapidated tile-roofed house. The children in the city were all delicate. Would they be able to get used to the environment in the countryside? Therefore, Yang Qing thought that there was still a month to renovate the house. He wanted to build at least a 2-story house, paint the walls, and put up tiles in Yang Yi's room. When Yang Huan told Yang Yi about Yang Qing's plan, Yang Yi was touched by his second brother. Big brother, Mom and Dad don't want to renovate the house. They said that second brother's wedding should be put aside first. What do you think we should do? Yang Huan blinked and asked. The solution was simple. Even Yang Huan had thought of it. She was just trying to find something to talk about. Yang Yi shook his head. This is simple. Yang Qing doesn't need to build another house. I'll send some money back. You can ask Yang Qing to demolish the house and rebuild the foundation. Build a 3 or 4-story house. The first floor will be for Mom and Dad. They are getting older, so they don't need to climb the stairs to stay on the first floor. Yang Qing and his wife will stay on the second floor, so they can take care of mom and dad. The third or fourth floor can be reserved for you and me. Anyway, we're usually outside and only go back during holidays. It doesn't matter if we stay on the top floor. Don't just put tiles in my room. Ask him to spend more money on renovation and furniture. Help me persuade Yongqing. We don't need that money now. Living comfortably is more important. Yang Yi said to Yang Huan. Yang Yi was closer to Yang Huan now. He didn't have as much freedom to communicate with Yongqing as he did with Yang Huan. After all, Yongqing basically stayed in the village, unlike Yang Huan, who went to the county to study for a few years. They couldn't talk about the same topics, so Yang Huan was more than willing to be their lubricant. Okay, Yang Huan said with a smile. By the way, big brother, speaking of houses, I suddenly thought of something. Sure enough, a look of understanding flashed across Yang Yi's eyes. He knew that Yang Huan must have something on his mind when he suddenly came looking for him and hesitated. The family matter aside, Yang Huan definitely had something to ask of him. Hasn't the movie Fairy Tale been moved out of that house? Xiao Gua told me that he doesn't know what he's doing with that house. It's usually empty. So, I'm thinking of moving there. Yang Huan said hesitantly. Yang Yi didn't wait for her to finish. He raised his eyebrows and interrupted her. No, you can't. His objection came so quickly and so harshly that Yang Huan didn't expect it. Yang Yi's voice had a hint of anger. He asked, Did Guazi bewitch you? I knew that he had ulterior motives for renting that house. How dare he have designs on you? Where's my knife? It's fine if I don't have a knife. I'll close the door and let Xiao Guai bite him to death. In Yang Yi's heart, Guazi was a black and white photo with a single word on it, pawn. Big brother, you misunderstood. Yang Huan only realized that she had tricked her teammate. She hurriedly explained to Yang Yi, Xiao Gua didn't say anything to me. I'm the one who wants to move out. You're living well at home. Why do you want to move out? Yang Yi was sure that it was Guazi's fault. Because I want to study with Sister Ding Xiang. Yang Huan had already thought of an excuse. She explained, Isn't there 2 rooms in that house? I'll take one room, and Sister Ding Xiang will take the other. Sister Ding Xiang doesn't have to go back to the dormitory. She can study with Sister Ding Xiang at night. Studying with you and sister-in-law at home is so long at night. There's no learning atmosphere at all. Yang Huan said meaningfully, Sister Ding Xiang is very serious. She will study and prepare when she goes back. Studying with her can help each other improve. Yang Huan's student status had been arranged by Guazi's father to enroll her in a private high school in Jiang City. Because it was a private high school, it didn't matter whether Yang Huan went to school or not. Yang Yi didn't care about Yang Huan's choice to study at home. He even bought a lot of revision materials for Yang Huan at home. Based on Ding Xiang's feedback and his frequent checkups, Yang Huan still had time to study. There was probably no chance for her to get into a key university. However, if she could pass the art test, Guazi and Ding Xiang said that the cultural test wouldn't be a big problem. Don't ruin your sister Ding Xiang. She doesn't have the money to rent a house with you and play around with you. Ding Xiang usually doesn't buy any nice clothes and saves all her money. I heard that her grandma is sick. Yang Yi felt that it was inappropriate. He couldn't be so selfish as to ignore Ding Xiang's feelings for his sister. I know. That's why I want to discuss with you. You can take that house and rent it. You can treat it as a staff dormitory. That way, Sister Ding Xiang won't have to run so far back to the dormitory after closing the shop at night. It's not safe on the way, Yang Huan said. That was a good idea. Yang Yi frowned and asked suspiciously, Is it really for studying? You and Ding Xiang live together? Won't Guazi sneak in? Yang Huan finally understood his concern. She didn't know whether to laugh or cry. How can that be? Brother, men are not welcome in girls' dormitories. Xiao Guo won't be able to come in the future. She stopped herself in time, but Yang Yi still understood what she meant. He coughed awkwardly and said, If that's the case, and you want to study hard for this year's art test, I can rent this house for you. Hee brother, you're so nice. Yang Huan jumped up and hugged Yang Yi's arm intimately. But I'll let Ding Xiang supervise you and your study. If you don't study hard after you move out, I'll let you move back here immediately. Yang Yi warned her with a serious face. Yang Yi trusted Ding Xiang. He had made up his mind that he would not only let Ding Xiang supervise Yang Huan, but also keep an eye on Guazi, so that the brat wouldn't have any ideas about his sister. Yes, sir. Yang Huan smiled and saluted. Recently, she had watched a lot of Harbor City police movies with the excuse of studying acting. Chapter 338. Although in the beginning, due to the influence of public opinion, the album sales were not very good, but with the subsequent improvement of the reputation, whether it was the physical album sales or the online single sales, they began to gradually show a strong momentum. Murphy's song also counterattacked and caught up on the new song bestseller list. Finally, on January 9th, the song In My Voice completed its strong climb to the top, becoming the second song to reach the top of the album. And this was not the most important thing. What made the media exclaim was that on the bestseller list that day, 4 of the top 10 songs were actually from Murphy's new album. How many years had it been since they saw such a strong scene? In the top 10 list, 4 songs were written under the name of the same singer. Moreover, the results of these 4 songs were not bad. The first was In My Voice, the third was Love Me Don't Go, and the 7th was Carefree Sigh. There was also a song placed at the end of the album. At first, it was not taken seriously, and it had not been its turn to participate in the TV station's chart program. But since Murphy sang this song at the invitation of the radio station, its single sales on the internet immediately soared. Although it had just squeezed into the 10th place today, no one thought that it was only at the level of the 10th place. The music critics' evaluation of this song was very high, and it was not worse than Crossing the Sea to See You. One music critic even said that this song was his favorite. Murphy's album has 2 songs about the sea that can win awards, but if I had to choose the first, I would not choose Crossing the Sea to See You! Tian Mei had been keenly aware of this situation, so after communication, the song that Murphy would sing at Chan Yijie's concert in Yangcheng tomorrow would not be In My Voice, but this song. He believed that with the increase of exposure, this song would be like Coming Across the Sea to See You, and In My Voice, becoming the #1 song on the new best-selling chart. 3 songs on one album, this seemed to be breaking the record. Putting aside Murphy, whose influence was growing day by day, Yang Yi had another headache today. Because it was Saturday, it was also time for the children to shoot the movie. Du Yuanlei had already borrowed the school's hospital hall and arranged everything. She was just waiting for him and the other children. Yang Yi didn't have to pick up the children. The parents had already sent their children over. Except for Chen Shiyun's father, Chen Guoqiang, who was busy with work, and Lans Hao Kai, who only asked his family's driver to send Xian Air over, the other parents were reluctant to leave. For example, Wu Yu pretended to be sick and cancelled today's classes to watch her daughter's performance. Nan Xiaoyu was sent over by his father today. Nan Yun was also deeply interested in the children's first electric shock performance. He and Wu Yu both decided to stay and watch. Xiaoyu, you have to listen to Uncle Yang's instructions. Whatever he tells you to do, you have to do it. Understand? In the coffee shop, Nan Yun sternly instructed Nan Xiaoyu in front of Yang Yi. Then he turned to Yang Yi and laughed. This child is a little stupid. If he does something wrong, you can teach him a lesson. No, Nan Xiaoyu is very smart. He will definitely perform well today. Yang Yi said, but when he looked at Nan Xiaoyu, he smiled and showed his teeth. He looked like a big wolf grandmother. Perhaps Nan Yun's way of education was too traditional. Nan Xiaoyu was indeed a little silly in front of his father. However, when he was with his friends, the little boy was a lot more lively. The 5 little guys chattered non-stop. It seemed that they had a lot of topics to talk about. The coffee shop was abnormally lively because of their noise. Until Yang Yi shouted, "Let's go!" the 5 little guys rushed out excitedly. Ding Xiang and Yang Huan's ears were quiet for a while. However, on the road, the little guys were also restless. At first, they even held hands and walked side by side. After a while, Chen Shiyun couldn't hold back her temper and began to let go of her hand and run in front. Then, all the little guys ran, giggling, and ran around Yang Yi, chasing and playing around. They were particularly energetic. "You can't catch up with me." Shi's laughter was like a wind chime, echoing on the school road. "Shi, wait for me." Young Luochi also became more lively. The little girl trotted behind. "Run slower," Yang Yi hurriedly shouted. He didn't have time to talk to Wu Yu and Nan Yun. He had to be careful. Otherwise, if he didn't pay attention, he might knock down the little guys who didn't watch the road. Okay, don't run. What if you fall down later? If you scratch your skin in winter, you'll cry out in pain later. Wu Yu took the initiative to help Yang Yi persuade the children. Nan Yun also put on a straight face and scolded Nan Xiaoyu. "How many times have I told you? Boys should do things calmly. Why are you running?" After a while, as if they had gone through 81 difficulties, they finally arrived at the set, the school hospital. "Is this a hospital?" The little guys hesitated at the door for a while. "I don't like to go to the hospital. In the hospital, I have to get injections. My butt hurts." Lon Xin was a little timid. She touched her little butt and took 2 steps back, hiding behind her friends. "I don't like injections either." Shi's little nose twitched as if she was smelling something. She echoed, "The hospital stinks too." "I don't like it." "The hospital doesn't stink. I often go to my mother's hospital. It's clean." Chen Shiyun retorted with dissatisfaction. "But Chen Shiyun, aren't you afraid of injections?" Young Luochi was a little timid and asked weakly. "I'm not afraid of injections. I've only had 1 injection, and I'm super brave." Chen Shiyun said proudly, "You're not as good as me." But. Nan Xiaoyu wanted to say something, but after stammering for a long time, he was finally discouraged. He wanted to say that he was also very brave, but in fact, he wasn't. When it came to injections, the little boy didn't even have the courage to pretend to be brave. Yang Yi was curious why they didn't come in. When he turned around, he happened to hear their conversation. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He rubbed Lon Xin and Shi's little heads and said, Okay, you're not here for injections. You're here to shoot a movie. Have you forgotten? Don't be afraid." It took him a lot of persuasion to bring them in. Du Yuanlei came over with a board in her hands. After getting to know each other, she squatted down and explained the play to the children in a very gentle and patient manner, which was rare. To Yang Yi and Wu Yu's surprise, in front of director Du Yuanlei, the children were not naughty anymore. Instead, they were all well behaved and stood there quietly to listen to Du Yuanlei. Yang Yi and the others didn't know that thanks to Shi's previous publicity, the terrible image of Sister Du had been deeply ingrained in the children's minds. When they heard that it was the director, they didn't dare to make any more trouble. They were afraid of being scolded. After listening to the director's explanation, Du Yuanlei turned and walked away. The children became more lively, but they were still a little nervous. Lon Xin secretly glanced at Du Yuanlei's back and whispered, Shi, is that beautiful Sister Du Yuanlei? She doesn't look fierce?" Yes, Sister Du is very good." She nodded, but then shook her head. She pouted and said, But Sister Du can be fierce sometimes. When acting in a movie, she will become fierce if she doesn't do it well." "How fierce?" Chen Shiyun asked. "Very fierce. Super fierce. As fierce as a tiger." She found it difficult to find a sentence to describe Sister Du, so scary. Young Luochi looked nervous. She was a little worried that she would be scolded by the director because she didn't do well. "I'm scared too." Shi, what if I don't do well and forget the lines?" Nan Xiaoyu held Shi's hand worriedly. He didn't notice that at this moment, a sharp gaze had swept over from behind. "Don't be afraid. Xiaoyu, You forgot that you don't have the lines. She laughed happily. Zhao Yu, come here. I'll bandage you. Yang Yi came over at this time. He was holding some bandages from the school hospital and waved to Nan Zhaoyu. Chapter 339. Nan Zhaoyu obediently let go of Shi's hand and came to Yang Yi's side. He let Shi's father wrap his arm with a bandage. Shi and her friends also gathered around. The little girl curiously touched the rough bandage and asked, "Papa, what is this?" "Bandage. Isn't Nan Zhaoyu injured? Bandage him up," Yang Yi softly explained to his daughter. Nan Zhaoyu came back to his senses and said weakly, "But, Uncle Yang, why am I injured?" "I'm not injured. I remember, Nan Zhaoyu, you are injured. That beautiful sister just said it." Lan Xian was behind him. She took advantage of Yang Yi squatting down and intimately hugged her favorite uncle's neck. But the chubby girl's legs were still a little short, so she could only try to stand on tiptoe. "But I don't think this thing looks good. Can I tie a bow?" Nan Zhaoyu weakly protested. "What does a boy need to look good? Have you heard of the blood-stained style? Well, you probably haven't heard of it. Anyway, a boy needs to be injured to be handsome enough." Yang Yi tried his best to fool him. Yang Yi also came over curiously and happened to hear the conversation between Nan Zhaoyu and Nan Zhaoyu. He nodded and said, "Your Uncle Yang is right. Xiaoyu, you have to listen to Uncle Yang's command." Nan Zhaoyu had to accept this arrangement with grievance. Yang Yi wrapped the bandage on his arm and patted Nan Zhaoyu's bandaged arm with satisfaction. Then he held Lan Xian in front of him and stood up. He looked at Nan Zhaoyu, who was wrapped in bandages as if his arm was broken. He suddenly felt that he was quite talented in this area and was secretly happy. Also, such a small child, he could only think about it. It was impossible to really break his arm. But this little bastard pulled Shi's little hand. He could not let Yang Yi have a chance, right? Well, all units get ready, start shooting. Du Yuanlei, who was sitting in front of the monitor, shouted, and the first shooting officially began. Yang Yi and the children stood by the wall of the school hospital hall. Everyone stood around Nan Zhaoyu. Yang Yi also stood at the innermost side so as not to block the children. Yang Yi didn't think much of it, but he clearly felt that the 5 children's spirits suddenly tensed up when they heard the start of the shooting. The originally curious and expectant smiles disappeared, and all of them looked nervous. Even she was the same. The little girl stared with wide eyes, forgetting that she was acting. She just stared straight at the camera that was pressed on the rail car and moved over. Cut. After a few seconds, Du Yuanlei shouted to stop. Then she stood up with the board and walked over. Nan Diyun didn't quite understand. He asked Wu Yu in confusion, "Finished shooting? So fast?" Wu Yu also hadn't shot a movie before, but she didn't think it was finished. She guessed, "It shouldn't be finished yet. Maybe it's not good?" It was indeed not good. Although Yang Yi told Du Yuanlei that even if the children passed in one take, they could pretend that they couldn't do it and shoot a few more times to let them have fun, Du Yuanlei had to stop. Du Yuanlei didn't want to have any flaws in a 1 or 2 second shot. Is it because it's your first time shooting a movie and you're too nervous? Du Yuanlei was still smiling gently. She gently patted the children on the shoulder and said, "Don't be nervous. Just chat like you usually do. Do what you need to do. Relax a little." The little girls hadn't recovered from their nervous mood just now. They stuck to Yang Yi's side and looked at Du Yuanlei with some fear. "And Shi, don't keep looking at the camera. Although the camera is very cool." Du Yuanlei looked at Shi and made a rare joke. "But think about it. You came to the hospital this time to visit your friend. He's injured. So you should focus on his body, on his arm, right?" After Du Yuanlei shouted, "Cut!" the little girl, who knew the meaning of cut, hid behind her father, only showing half of her body and face. She was also afraid of being scolded by Du Yuanlei. However, to Shi's surprise, Sister Du's attitude was very good. She even had a smile on her face and her voice was very gentle. She slowly relaxed and nodded timidly. Everyone, let's adjust and let go of your nervous emotions first. Then we'll start, okay? Du Yuanlei showed a patience that had never been seen before in front of the children. This scene made Wang Chao, Guazi, Qin Wen, and the others who were watching by the side envious. Guazi couldn't help but mutter, if only these children had more scenes. I really don't want to be scolded by Director Du again. In order to give the children some space to adjust, Du Yuanlei walked away after saying that. At this time, Lan Xian, who had been looking around since the beginning, finally couldn't help but ask, Shi, didn't you say that there would be a lot of delicious food in the movie? That's right. Why can't I see any delicious food here? Delicious food? Shi blinked and turned around to look for it. I want to eat delicious food. I'm so hungry that I don't have any strength. Lan Xian shook Shishi's hand and pouted unhappily. Chen Shiyun also remembered the purpose of her coming here. She also shouted, I want to eat delicious food. Did you guys finish all the delicious food? Shishi is lying. I even said that I would help you guys finish it. This little girl always had this habit of speaking. She would always be a little extreme. Shishi was anxious because of her words. I don't know why the food disappeared. There used to be a lot of food. Then it's not fun to act in the movie. There's no delicious food. Chan Shiyun muttered. It's so boring. Lan Xian also nodded. Nan Zhaoyu followed the rest in a low voice and said, I don't think it's fun either. Shishi was about to cry because of her friend's words. The little girl looked at her father for help. Only then did Yang Yi understand. He finally understood why these children, who had never known what acting was all about, were suddenly so enthusiastic about acting. It turned out that the ulterior motive was not in the wine. He was also like this today. In order to take care of the children and act, he didn't think of bringing anything over. Well, don't worry. Uncle told you that there's delicious food. Uncle prepared some cakes and drinks. Yang Yi quickly helped his daughter out. Really? Where is it? Where is the delicious food? Lan Xian and Chen Shiyun's eyes lit up. It's still on the way, but there is a rule. You have to act well. Only when the director says it's okay, there will be delicious food. Yang Yi said seriously. Okay then. Let's start quickly. With the encouragement of delicious food, Chan Shiyun's enthusiasm came back. Then you have to act well in the movie. Lan Xian said. Seeing that her friends were no longer blaming her, she breathed a sigh of relief and laughed along with them. Yang Yi found a chance and quickly called the shop. He asked Yang Huan and Ding Xiang to pack all the ready-made cupcakes in the shop and buy some drinks to send over. Although there was the encouragement of delicious food, the children's scenes were still filmed after 9 NGs. It was only a scene of 1 or 2 seconds. Even if they were to film other scenes, including Guazi and Qin Wan who just appeared in the hospital, this scene only lasted for more than 10 seconds. Du Yuanlei was about to collapse. Fortunately, this group of children didn't have any more scenes. Du Yuanlei was relieved and asked Yang Yi to bring the children to another borrowed room for waiting and resting. She still had to shoot another scene of Guazi and Qin Wen in the hall. After filming, Lan Xian and Chen Shiyun finally saw the delicious food that they had been looking forward to for a long time. Several children ran over happily and ate happily. Was it fun to act? Wu Yu also came over at this time. She smiled and helped her daughter tidy up her hair and then asked softly. Young Luoqi's cute little mouth was stuffed and she couldn't speak. Nan Zhaoyu, who had not removed the bandage, couldn't eat anything. He found an opportunity to speak and answered quickly, It's not fun at all. Yes, I'm too tired. Chen Shiyun said while eating the cake in her mouth. I'm tired too. Young Luoqi finally swallowed the cake. She looked at her mother pitifully and said, I don't like to act in movies. Then don't act in movies in the future. Let's just eat. Let's go to Shi's house to eat. Lan Xian said while holding a cake in one hand and said with her mouth full. Yes, Chen Shuyun was so happy that she was beaming with joy. Yang Yi shook his head helplessly. Sure enough, it's a one-sided affair. When she heard what her friend said, she was a little unhappy. She pulled her father's hand and whispered to him, "Papa, why do they say it's not fun?" Yang Yi squatted down, touched his daughter's little head and said softly, "It's normal that they don't like it. Because this scene has to be shot again and again. It's not good if you don't have patience. But I think it's interesting." She pouted her mouth, twisted her waist and said. Yang Yi laughed. "That's because our she is patient. You're the best." He, just now Sister Du also said that I'm great. She was praised by her father. She was a little embarrassed, but she was still very happy. She hugged her father's neck and whispered in his ear. Chapter 340. After filming the movie, Yang Yi returned home in the evening and began to pack his luggage. He folded up some of She's clothes and put them in the suitcase. She, who had just finished a call with her mother, grabbed her phone with both hands and ran in. When she saw this scene, she squatted down curiously and looked at the suitcase with her father. "Papa, what are you doing?" "I'm packing. Didn't you say you missed your mother? Daddy will take you to see your mother tomorrow, okay?" Yang Yi raised his head and said with a smile. This was something that Yang Yi had been planning for a long time. Not only did he ask Chan Yi-jie for VIP tickets to the front row of the concert, he also asked Fu Jun, who was based in Yongcheng, to book a hotel for them to temporarily rest in. Fu Jun also prepared a car for Yang Yi. Murphy, this silly woman, always wanted to shoulder the pressure outside by herself. Yang Yi felt that instead of asking her to go home to see her daughter, it would be better for him to send Shi to meet her mother so that Murphy could work with peace of mind. The little girl had already taken a bath and was wearing a small nightgown. Yang Yi was worried that she would catch a cold, so he asked her to wear a coat, which made her look very ladylike. "Really?" Shi's eyes widened and asked in surprise, "I can see Mom tomorrow?" "Ah, I didn't tell Mom just now." The little girl's skin was very good. Although the winter weather was a bit dry, Shi's little face was still tender after taking a bath. Now that she had a regretful expression, she looked like a little adult. She was very cute and made people want to pinch her. "You don't have to tell your mother, let's give her a surprise." Yang Yi deliberately lowered his voice and said to Shi mysteriously. "Surprise? Then I won't tell Mom, but how can I give Mom a surprise?" She couldn't help but lower her voice. It was as if she was whispering to her father, and it took a lot of effort for her to speak. "Listen to me." Yang Yi was still a child at heart. He and his daughter squatted together. Even though there was no one else in the room, they began to discuss the big plan in a low voice. The next morning, Murphy took a flight from Shanghai to Guangzhou. The mall that was holding the signing event with Tian Mei sent a car to pick her up. Mo Shaowan sat in the front passenger seat and chatted with the driver about the delicacies of Yongcheng. The drivers from Guangdong province weren't as talkative, but this old driver was quite talkative. He could talk about anything that flew in the sky, crawled on the ground, swam in the water, and all kinds of delicacies. Murphy sat at the back. She did not have the habit of chatting with strangers. She held her phone and sent a message to Yang Yi to let him know that she was safe. He didn't call because the driver wasn't one of them. After sending the message, Murphy didn't put down her phone. Instead, she held it in her hands and waited for Yang Yi's reply. The two of them had a tacit understanding. Yang Yi would always have his phone with him, so he would always reply to her messages within seconds. Murphy was the same, but she didn't have the ability to carry her phone around all day. Therefore, she would call Yang Yi every day at the time they agreed on. She would call Yang Yi without fail. Murphy was someone who didn't like change. She was also a woman who lacked a sense of security. If Yang Yi suddenly stopped replying to her messages, she would be worried for a long time. Of course, as long as Yang Yi took the initiative to explain to her, the feelings that she had accumulated would immediately disappear. Yang Yi knew Murphy's characteristics, so he carefully protected her and gave her a sense of security. Sure enough, not long after, Murphy received a message from Yang Yi. However, this time, the content of the message wasn't just Yang Yi's routine concern. He also asked where Murphy was staying at night and whether she had made the appropriate arrangements. Although Murphy felt that the message was a little strange, she didn't think too much about it. She simply thought that Chen Yijie wanted to make arrangements for her. She honestly told Yang Yi the name of the hotel she was staying at. Four Seasons Hotel. It was arranged by the organizers of the signing event. There's no need to trouble Tian Xiang. The signing event was very successful. A lot of people came to the venue. Since Murphy arrived at 10 in the morning, the signing event, which was originally scheduled to end at 12, was extended by an hour. However, that was only enough to satisfy the majority of the fans who wanted to sign autographs. The line of passionate fans was still very long, and the end couldn't be seen. Murphy hadn't seen such a popular phenomenon in many years. She was moved by the passionate fans and wanted to sign autographs for all of them before leaving. However, she had no choice. She had other plans in the afternoon. It was the final rehearsal for Chan Yijie's concert. She couldn't delay other people's plans because of her own selfishness. So, after Mo Xiaowan negotiated with the organizers, the signing event had to end hastily. There were still a lot of fans who couldn't get Murphy's autograph in the long line, but they didn't cause any trouble. After Murphy's sincere explanation, they all expressed their understanding. Among the fans present, there were a lot of people who bought tickets to Chan Yijie's concert. Of course, they bought the tickets because they wanted to see Chan Yijie. In the Cantonese area, Chan Yijie's fame was like the sun at noon. These people who were willing to spend money to chase after celebrities naturally wouldn't miss Chan Yijie's concert. Then we'll see you at the concert tonight. Murphy waved her hand gratefully and left with Mo Xiaowan in the car. There was no time to rest at all. Even for lunch, Murphy ate in the nanny van. Perhaps it was because she was used to Yang Yi's meticulously prepared food. Murphy felt that these boxed lunches were very difficult to eat. Even though the boxed lunches that the organizers provided for her and her assistant were already packed from a big hotel. However, in winter, food cooled down quickly. Murphy felt that these supposedly delicious Cantonese dishes such as sliced chicken and braised pork with preserved vegetables were all cold and tasteless. They weren't as delicious as Yang Yi's cooking. Missing Yang Yi in her heart, Murphy only ate a few mouthfuls to fill her stomach. Of course, she wouldn't complain about the organizers because of her preferences. Because this was the price that the stars had to pay. Not to mention Murphy, even the superstar Chan Yijie was too busy to eat for his concert. When Murphy and others arrived, Chan Yijie was wearing a warm military coat and standing on the stage of the stadium in the whistling cold wind. He was walking on the stage while holding a microphone to communicate with the stage supervisor. When Murphy arrived, Chan Yijie went to the backstage to receive Murphy. His assistant took the opportunity to pass his lunch to him and let him eat a few mouthfuls. "Sorry, I made a fool of myself. Do you mind? By the way, do you want to eat?" Chan Yijie was also polite to Murphy. He didn't eat a few mouthfuls and hurriedly took Murphy to the stage. "I will go downstairs to change my clothes after singing the fourth song, which is the song Long Time No See. Then I'll have to trouble you to sing your song." "Okay." Murphy followed him, speaking less and listening more. "I'll ask the band to accompany you in a while. You can try it." "Oh, right." Chan Yijie spoke straightforwardly, but he thought of something, turned his head, and said with a smile, "Miss Mo used to be a singer in Harbor City, so you should have no problem singing Cantonese songs, right?" This was also an extra question. Chan Yijie and Murphy now communicated in Cantonese. After all, his Mandarin was good at singing his own songs, but it was still a little difficult for him to communicate with her. "No problem." Murphy nodded and looked at Chan Yijie with some doubts, not knowing why he mentioned this history. "That's good. I also want to cooperate with Miss Mo on Mr. Mu Ziang's Better Not See You. What do you think?" Chan Yijie said excitedly, "Just after you finish singing your song, I'll change my clothes and go back to the stage. Sing a Cantonese song." Murphy hadn't sung a Cantonese song in front of the public for many years, but Chen Yijie's proposal made her excited. Although she had achieved success in the mainland market, she had to admit that the failure in Harbor City made Murphy a little upset. Okay. Murphy agreed readily. Then let's have a try. Wait a minute. I'll bring you a sheet of lyrics. Let's practice how to sing. Chen Yijie snapped his fingers and said happily. Chapter 341. Night had just fallen, and the neon lights in Yongqing looked unusually lively. Winter in this city wasn't particularly cold. Even though it was already the 12th lunar month, compared to Jiang City, the temperature at night was still considered very warm. She finally didn't have to cover herself up. She didn't need a hat, gloves, sweater, or trousers. She wore an orange-red down jacket and a wine-red scarf. It was beautiful and warm enough. Moreover, she was in her father's arms. Her father's embrace gave her warmth and a sense of security. She wrapped her arms around her father's neck excitedly and looked around. They were waiting in line for the ticket check to enter. This was the Yongqing Stadium. It could hold 50,000 people, including the 2,000 VIP seats near the stage. This scale was much larger than Jiang City's popular house music hall. It was said that the concert tickets had been sold out a month ago, so there was a long queue even at the VIP ticket check. Fortunately, Yang Yi didn't mind. Papa, there are so many people here. She looked excitedly for a while before she whispered in her father's ear, "There are so many people. How are we going to find Mom?" "There's no need to look for her. We'll watch from below the stage. When Mom goes on stage to sing, we'll be able to see her." Yang Yi whispered in Shi's ear. "Really? Mom can sing? I love hearing Mom sing." Shi's eyes lit up. She tugged at her scarf, which was a little uncomfortable. After all, the weather wasn't too hot. But you have to promise Dad that you won't shout when the time comes." Yang Yi reached out to tidy his daughter's hair and said gently. I know. I can't let anyone know." Cici nodded sensibly. She even put up a finger and made a shushing gesture, but her eyes were curved with a smile. "Let's not talk about the past anymore. Just a small talk. I'll say one sentence to you, just one sentence." Chen Yijie's soulful singing gradually faded on the stage. However, the more than 40,000 passionate fans in the audience did not make a single sound. They were quiet, swaying their light sticks, as if they were looking at the night sky at the North Pole. Everyone was immersed in Chen Yijie's singing. Only when Chen Yijie slowly sang the last line, "Long time no see," did they start clapping. Most of them didn't even dare to disturb Chen Yijie's affectionate expression. Only a few fangirls couldn't help but shout, "Eason." In the end, the applause and cheers sounded like an explosion after a long silence. This was Chen Yijie's stage appeal. Yang Yi couldn't help but applaud for him. "Thank you, everyone." Chen Yijie thanked them in Cantonese and repeated it in Mandarin. "I'm going to change my clothes. But don't be in a hurry, everyone. Today, I've invited a guest who sings really well. She's also a very popular singer." Before Chen Yijie could finish, some of the audience had already shouted out Murphy's name for him. After all, this wasn't a secret. Tian Xiang and Tian Mei had already announced the news. "That's right, it's Miss Murphy. Welcome." Chen Yijie smiled and raised his hand above his head. He clapped as he turned to look backstage. Murphy, dressed to the nines, was slowly walking out. The big screen was already projecting her. "Ah, Mom, it's Mom." She, who was below the stage, cried out in surprise. However, she quickly remembered her promise to her father. She quickly lowered her voice and shook her father's hand, eager to tell him about this discovery. The scene was very noisy. If one didn't speak loudly, they wouldn't be able to hear it. Yang Yi glanced at the audience nearby. When he saw that they didn't notice, he relaxed. He put Shi on his lap and lowered his head. His face was pressed against her soft hair as he said, Yes, it's Mom. Your mom is going to sing. She nodded happily. She waved the light stick in her hand excitedly. Previously, she had only waved it around because it was fun. Now, she wanted to do her best to attract her mother's attention. Murphy, who was on the stage, walked to Chen Yijie's side. Chen Yijie politely made an inviting gesture. He smiled and introduced her to the fans below the stage. To be honest, Murphy and I weren't familiar with each other before. Although I've always known that there's a singer in China who has a very good voice and singing skills, and of course, Murphy is also very beautiful. But trust me, she's definitely not going to walk the path of an idol singer. She's a talented singer like me. This was a bit like selling melons to a woman. Chen Yijie's humor was met with laughter from the fans and a round of applause for Murphy. Murphy stood gracefully on the stage like a snow lotus. She was quiet and elegant, but she wasn't cold and heartless. She still smiled slightly and interacted with Chen Yijie a little. This was already very rare. My interaction with Murphy was because of teacher Mu Xiang. Teacher Mu Xiang not only wrote "Long Time No See" and "Better Not to See" for me, but also wrote many classic songs for Murphy. So trust me, when Murphy replaces me to warm up the stage, her singing won't disappoint everyone. Everyone just needs to enjoy her heavenly voice to the fullest. Chen Yijie's introduction made many fans who didn't pay attention to Murphy interested in Murphy. Mu Xiang. Chen Yijie's fans were now very familiar with this songwriter. What would the song he wrote for another singer be like? Eason, you're overpraising me. Murphy was a little embarrassed by the praise and couldn't help but say, not at all. By the way, Murphy, what song are you going to bring us today? Chen Yijie pretended not to know and asked with a smile. A new song from my new album, Listen to the Sea. Murphy held the microphone and said, okay, then the stage will be handed over to you. Chen Yijie waved his hand and went backstage to change his clothes through the gas-filled elevator. On the big stage, except for the band behind, there was only Murphy left. More than 40,000 audience looked at her, standing alone and quietly on the stage. Murphy seemed to feel lonely and helpless. Murphy was actually a little nervous. She hadn't stood on such a big stage for almost 6 years, right? She almost forgot the feeling of being the focus of attention. But in the prelude of Listen to the Sea, as soon as the clean piano sound came, Murphy immediately put this little nervousness behind her. It seemed that the familiarity imprinted in her bones made Murphy enter the singing state. The string music also began to join in. This beautiful prelude made many of Chen Yijie's fans quiet down and listen carefully. Write to me and tell me what color the sea is today. Murphy's equally clean voice opened the curtain of the sea. Her voice was really good. Chen Yijie's fans were basically people who really loved listening to music. They didn't pay too much attention to Murphy's fairy-like appearance superficially. As soon as Murphy opened her mouth, they already had their own judgment of Murphy's voice. This evaluation was not bad. Accompanying your sea every night, how do you feel? If the first sentence was to show off her voice, then the second sentence was to show off Murphy's singing skills. It was still a clean and ethereal voice, but it sang this small high note beautifully without leaving any trace. Almost everyone heard this small high note, but most people ignored the difficulty of this small high note because of Murphy's singing skills. Perhaps anyone could sing a high note in this section, but to sing such a normal high note, sing up and down slowly, and sing with such ease, I'm afraid only a few people could do it. Where did such a good singer come from? Many fans who were not familiar with Murphy were now interested in learning more about Murphy. Chapter 342. Gray is not wanting to say it, blue is melancholy. And you, who are drifting, where does your heart stop? Murphy was on the stage, and the spotlight only shone on her body. Dressed in a white dress, she was like an angel singing, and her strong feelings were reflected in her clear voice. Even if they did not appreciate Murphy's voice and singing skills, it did not matter, because the lyrics of this song were enough to amaze people. Just like a drunken lover, every word, every sentence, and every paragraph tugged at the heartstrings of the audience. Why are you clearly in love, but you don't get close. Look, how sad was this line? What kind of feeling was that of pretending to be fine, but having your heart broken? This was just the foundation. The real climax was like the waves of the sea, layer upon layer, and finally, the accumulated power exploded. Listen to the sound of the sea crying. Murphy's voice seemed to have finally broken free from the previous suppression and was able to completely release its energy and soared with abandon. Suddenly, everyone could feel their scalp tingling and their eardrums exploding. Yes, at this moment, Murphy showed the true power of her high notes, and the audience was attracted by her outburst. Even Chan Yijie, who was changing and getting ready backstage, could not help but stop what he was doing and stop to listen. His hands made some small movements, and he seemed to be intoxicated by Murphy's singing. Of course, to say how high this high note was, it was not exaggerated to the point that it was amazing. Murphy's singing of this section, which shocked people, was not how high her notes were, but how she went from the previous suppression to the outburst, and the leap in the range. She sang this section, from the beginning to the end, the high notes kept rising, and there was no trace of breathing in the middle. Or it could be said that she did not breathe at all, and in the process of constantly rising, it was terrifyingly stable. Why did it sound good? Because she sang a feeling that could not be sung in other people's songs. I'm sighing. Whose heart has been hurt, but who is still not clear-headed? It's definitely not me. At least I'm very calm. But tears, even tears don't believe. Listen to the sound of the sea crying. Chan Yijie stood backstage and listened for a long time. He listened as Murphy used her extraordinary control over the high notes and the long breath she had practiced since she was a child to sing this part in a relaxed manner. She switched between her real and fake voice at will, and the high and low notes were steady and smooth. Then, it was followed by another hair-raising explosion. Phew! Chan Yijie finally let out a long sigh, as if he had been holding his breath and carefully admiring it. Amazing! Amazing! He shook his head and couldn't help but exclaim in admiration. Is he really that powerful? You can't even stop praising Eason. Yi Xiaofeng, who was now working as Chan Yijie's assistant, could not help but ask. Chan Yijie looked at her and smiled. He continued to change his clothes and said, "Of course, Murphy sang well, and Mr. Mu Ziong wrote the song well. Oh, by the way, what's the position of this song on the new best-selling chart?" "Let me check." Yi Xiaofeng quickly checked with her mobile phone and said, "It's currently ranked 9th. It's only been a day and it's risen by 1 place. The people of Tianmei did it on purpose. They used other songs to hit the charts first and deliberately didn't promote this song." Although Chan Yijie was not very involved in those operations, he could be regarded as an old man in the entertainment industry. At a glance, he could see through the relationship behind this. He chuckled and said, "Everyone thinks that Coming Across the Ocean to See You, or In My Voice, is the title song of Mo Fei's album, but in fact, it's not. This song, Listen to the Sea, is the real trump card." "So powerful?" Yi Xiaofeng exclaimed. The makeup artist was hurriedly touching up Chan Yijie's makeup. She had to go around to the other side and asked, "Eason, do you think this song is better than the previous two?" Yi Xiaofeng, as the daughter of a shareholder of Tianxiang, asked so unscrupulously. If it were another assistant, they would have been reprimanded. Chan Yijie waited until the makeup on his face was done and the makeup artist was helping him fix his hair. Then he slowly said, "It's much better. This song is the one that can really show Murphy's strength. Look at Murphy's performance tonight. I dare say that a promotion is an insult to this song. As long as Murphy can protect her voice, she can sing this song for the rest of her life." It was the representative of representative works. Mr. Mu Ziong is still the best. What are the songs that Murphy sang before? They all treated Murphy as a vase. Who can recognize the real strength of Murphy? In the end, it was Mr. Mu Ziong who really showed Murphy's strength with an absolutely classic song. Chen Yijie couldn't help but sigh. He didn't know that Yang Yi didn't have this level at all. This guy just happened to think that Murphy's voice was not worse than Mei's, so he gave Mei's representative work to his woman. However, Chan Yijie was right. Listen to the Sea, had been tested by time. Why did it need to be proven by results? Yi Xiaofeng couldn't help but say, "Eason, what about Long Time No See, that Mr. Mu Ziong wrote for you? Which one is more classic between the two songs?" Chen Yijie was silent for a moment. He shook his head with a wry smile and said, "It's hard to say. Long Time No See and Listen to the Sea are two different types of songs. They can't be compared. However, I still envy Murphy, because my voice is not bad. If I can sing a high-pitched song like Listen to the Sea, the feeling should be very good, right? Haha." To be honest, Chen Yijie was now listening to Murphy's high-pitched voice, and he was also itching to perform. "Then you should also ask Mr. Mu Ziong to write a high-pitched song for you," Yi Xiaofeng said naively. Chen Yijie smiled and said, "This kind of song can only be found by chance. Of course, now I'm also on good terms with Mr. Mu Ziong. Maybe when he has the inspiration to write a high-pitched song suitable for men to sing, my chance will come." As he spoke, his hands did not stop moving. The director had also come to urge them. Murphy's Listen to the Sea was at the end. Chen Yijie waited for a while, then walked out from the backstage. According to the previous agreement, he asked Murphy to stay. "Everyone, do you think Murphy's song is good?" Chen Yijie shouted. "It's good." After all, they were Chen Yijie's fans. Under his instigation, the audience cheered, which made Murphy feel a little flattered. Mo Fei is a talented singer that I admire and recognize very much. She is now launching a new album, First Dream. The 12 songs in it are all written by Mr. Mu Ziong, who I have worked with before. For example, this song, Listen to the Sea, every song is very classic. Well, I can tell you that I have already bought a copy of it for my collection. Chen Yijie was not hinting at all, he was already blatantly helping Mo Fei to win the award. This actually seemed a little stupid. After all, it was encouraging his fans to buy another singer's song. If it was not a confident superstar like Chen Yijie, others would not dare to do so. Murphy was so surprised that she couldn't close her mouth. She quickly raised the microphone and thanked Chen Yijie. She, who was simple-minded, did not know that Chen Yijie's real purpose of helping her was to show goodwill to Yang Yi. Since Mu Ziong helped Mo Fei like this, Chen Yijie would not be so stupid to think that the two of them were just friends. Although he would not tell Yi Xiaofeng and others about his guess, it was not wrong to do something based on this guess. This was the wisdom of the world. After this episode, Chen Yijie got back on track. According to the previous discussion, he deliberately asked about Murphy's experience of her early debut in Harbor City, and then invited Murphy to sing Better Not to Meet with him. "Would you like to listen?" Chen Yijie pointed the microphone to the audience and put his ears to listen. Yes. The audience below the stage was so excited that they almost went crazy. After listening to the song Listen to the Sea, they had already recognized Mo Fei's singing skills. Now that two powerful singers were singing together, this happiness came too suddenly. "What about Miss Murphy?" Chen Yijie looked at Murphy. "It's my honor." Murphy smiled. The audience was so happy that they were going crazy, but one person was a little unhappy. Chapter 343. She was a little unhappy. At first, she was happy. When her mother came out, she kept shaking the light stick in her hand. She was full of joy and looked forward to her mother seeing her. However, Murphy didn't even look at the audience. She didn't know that Murphy was the most engrossed in singing. She didn't have the habit of looking around. "Papa, Mom can't see She looked at her mother talking to others on the stage and felt jealous. The little girl finally couldn't help but turn her head and complain. How could there be a surprise when her mother couldn't see her? "It doesn't matter. We can go to the hotel to find her later." Yang Yi comforted her in a low voice. "There are so many people here. Even if she sees she can't immediately say hello to Shi. Yang Yi brought his daughter to the concert simply to see Murphy's performance on the stage and listen to Murphy's singing. His original plan was to wait for Murphy to go back to the hotel and then knock on the door with she to give Murphy a surprise. In the morning, after knowing the hotel where Mo Fei was staying, he had already taken Cece away from the hotel that was originally arranged for them to stay temporarily, and then booked a presidential suite at the Four Seasons Hotel. He even used some tricks that he learned in his previous life to steal Mo Fei's room number from the front desk. All the plans went smoothly. He hoped that Murphy didn't find him and she at the concert so that the planned surprise could be carried out. He could imagine Yang Yi knocking on Murphy's door with she and a bouquet of flowers in his arms. Then, he deliberately lowered his voice and said, "Hey, you have a delivery." How fun it would be to treat she as a delivery. However, now he had to appease she, who was eager to reunite with her mother. But, she didn't know what to say. Things had developed differently from what she had expected. The little girl felt very wronged. Okay, let's not make things difficult for your mother, right? There are more than 40,000 people here, and the stage is dark. It's too difficult for your mother to find you, Yang Yi said, but I promise you that I will let she see her tonight. Then Pinky swear with me. Don't go back on your word. She pouted. Although she was a little reluctant, she still reached out her little finger and chose to forgive him. Okay. Yang Yi Pinky swear with his daughter and said while holding back his laughter. Pinky swear. The one who lies is Xiao Guai. Because the singing hadn't started on the stage yet, Yang Yi whispered in Shi's ear again. The little girl immediately heard the problem. She was happy and giggled. It's not Xiao Guai. The one who lies is Xiao Guai. After comforting his daughter, Yang Yi thought to himself, there shouldn't be any problems now, right? When he raised his head and was about to continue watching the concert, his eyes met with Murphy's on the stage. That's right. It's a match. Half a minute ago, Murphy had just finished communicating with Chan Yijie. Then, she fiddled with her earplugs and walked to the position that she and Chan Yijie had agreed on in the afternoon. The two of them were to be separated by a certain distance and look like they were singing from afar. But coincidentally, or perhaps it was because their hearts were connected, Murphy glanced below the stage. With a mother's intuition, her eyes fell directly on she, who was sitting on her father's lap with her little butt up and talking to her father with her back facing the stage. In the vast sea of people, Murphy found it difficult to recognize Yang Yi. But she didn't know why. Maybe it was because she was a mother. When Murphy saw she's back, she immediately recognized her daughter. This was just a subconscious reaction. She was stunned for a moment and thought that she had seen wrongly. But when she looked up, she saw Yang Yi, who was Pinky Swear with her daughter. With Yang Yi's face, how could Murphy not recognize him? Are they really Yang Yi and she? Aren't they in Zhongqing? Why are they here? Murphy still couldn't believe it. She rubbed her eyes, but it wasn't wrong. Coincidentally, Yang Yi also raised his head and their eyes met. When she saw Yang Yi's expression, she was now sure of her judgment. Then, Murphy saw Yang Yi turn she around with a bitter smile. The little girl saw her line of sight and happily shook the light stick. That excited and cute look made Murphy happy. Sigh, this guy. Murphy secretly scolded Yang Yi. She could roughly guess Yang Yi's intention. But now was not a good time to exchange greetings. She had been standing there for almost half a minute. If she dilly-dallied, she was afraid that someone would find something unusual. If they followed her line of sight and found she, then it would be troublesome. Murphy turned around and walked back to her seat. At the same time, she used her hand to make a 6 sign behind her. 6. What did it mean? Was it like Sun Wukong in Journey to the West, learning from Master Bodhi? By making a 6 sign, did it mean that Yang Yi and she would find her at 6 o'clock in the morning? Or did it mean 666? Of course not. Yang Yi understood. He understood at a glance that Murphy wanted to contact him on the phone later. Mom saw me. I told you that Mom can see me. The little girl was still immersed in the joy of the reversal. Yang Yi smiled bitterly and rubbed the little girl's head. He was still regretting that his plan had failed. Papa, Don't you think it's super awesome? Mom is super awesome. She turned her head and asked excitedly, as long as you are happy. Yang Yi shrugged and smiled. Fortunately, the music on the stage began again. Murphy and Chan Yi-jie were going to sing together. She also watched attentively. Yang Yi was relieved. After the gentle prelude, Murphy began to sing first. My head is wet, it's inevitable. Ha! The audience under the stage stared at her. Although Chan Yi-jie had foreshadowed this before, Mo Fei's Cantonese singing, which was no worse than a pure Cantonese singer in Hong Kong, really gave them a surprise. Moreover, the singing style of this song was completely different from Listen to the Sea. Its tone was completely low, which was not suitable for Murphy's original high voice. But Murphy still did not let them down. She showed the same amazing bass and the same rich emotions. She interpreted the song with a different charm from Chan Yi-jie's. Chan Yi-jie was like a complete supporting role at the moment. He stood there blankly and let Murphy continue to sing. The more I want to meet you, the more I find that after 10 years, the smiling face I want to see is only nostalgia. I don't know how to talk to you again. If Mo Fei in Listen to the Sea was like a slightly drunk woman who was spitting out her emotions under the influence of alcohol, then Mo Fei in Why Don't You See Me was like an intellectual beauty who was drinking coffee, using light yellow letters and soft strokes to slowly pour out the emotion she had lost, calmly but tenderly. Spring orchid and autumn chrysanthemum, it was hard to say which one was more moving, but what was certain was that Mo Fei's performance of these two songs was intoxicating. Finally, Chan Yi-jie also started to sing, Like Me in the Past, I Don't Know How You Changed, as expected of Eason. As soon as he opened his mouth, his deep, lyrical, and highly distinguishing voice attracted the attention of the audience. The mature emotional release, the desire to resist, but also the desire to welcome, seemed to be even better than Mo Fei. Perhaps stimulated by Chan Yi-jie, Mo Fei also broke out again. When the two sang Mature Performance, It's Better Not to See Each Other, Mo Fei actually sang very well with Chan Yi-jie. It seemed that their strength had reached the same level. Of course, many people could not tell the difference. But it did not matter. How many years would it take to see two top-notch singers singing together? Just like Eason and the Heavenly Queen's Spring Festival Gala in the previous life, Murphy's singing was not out of tune, and her singing was better than the Heavenly Queen's at her peak. The audience below the stage was happy. Chapter 344. After all, Murphy was only an invited guest. Singing two songs was already considered special treatment. After she finished singing, she stepped back and returned the stage to Chan Yi-jie. Where did Mom go? She watched Murphy's back as she walked away. She couldn't sit still. Don't worry. You'll see her in a bit. Yang Yi smiled calmly. As he comforted his daughter, he took out his phone from his pocket and held it in his hand. Yang Yi didn't care about what song Chan Yi-jie was singing. Not long after, as Yang Yi expected, his phone vibrated. He immediately sensed it. Yang Yi hugged his daughter with one hand and scrolled through the text message with the other. It was from Murphy. Yang Yi guessed right. As soon as she went backstage, she couldn't wait to ask Mo Xiaowan for her phone. Big bastard. Looking at this text message, the image of Mo Fei gnashing her teeth appeared in Yang Yi's mind, and the corners of her mouth couldn't help but curl up slightly. Okay. Yang Yi's reply was even shorter. After a while, the phone vibrated again. Why did you bring my daughter all the way to Guangzhou? Don't you have to go to kindergarten tomorrow? This woman was still stubborn. Tomorrow? I asked Mr. Mu for a day off. Let's have a Cantonese morning tea tomorrow before going back. Yang Yi typed. Papa, what are you doing? She finally noticed. She curiously pulled her father's hand and moved the screen in front of her. Can I call Mom? Mom saw me. Wait a minute. I'll be done in a minute. Yang Yi still wanted to tease Murphy. This was a little fun between the two of them, so he could only let she suffer. You suddenly came over without saying a word. I'm going to be angry. Hashtag. Attached to the text message was a string of emoticons. Yang E had taught Murphy to use them before, and she had even come up with a new one. The image of Murphy pretending to be angry suddenly appeared in Yang Yi's mind. I miss you. Yang E sent another simple message. Sure enough, Murphy fell for this trick. After a while, she replied with another message, Come backstage, big bastard. Wait a moment. Yang E put away his phone and stood up with Shi in his arms. Let's go see mother, Yang E whispered into the little girl's ear. Really? Shi was full of joy. She hugged her father's neck and turned her head excitedly to see where her father was going. Yang E naturally couldn't alert the staff. There were too many people, and he had Shi with him. If they were seen and this matter was leaked, it would bring a lot of trouble to Murphy. However, sneaking around was not a problem for Yang E. He used the excuse of going to the washroom, then found a loophole in the security and sneaked into the backstage. If it weren't for Shi, he could have stolen a staff pass and swaggered in. Now that he was still holding Shi, Yang E could only hide. Shoo. Yang E even raised his index finger at Shi. Shoo. The little girl was not nervous at all. She even thought it was very interesting. She smiled and imitated her father. There were some twists and turns, but Yang E still found the backstage lounge according to the map on the wall. There were a few lounges, but there were small glass windows at the door that could be seen. Therefore, Yang E found and pushed open the door to Murphy and Mo Xiaojuan's lounge without much effort. Mom. The most excited was Shi. She couldn't wait to call out. Then, she stretched out her long arms, wanting her mother to hug her. Mo Xiaojuan hurriedly closed the door and paid attention to the movements outside. Then, she said with a smile, Wow, I was wondering if I should go and fetch you guys. Brother-in-law is indeed amazing. You found us yourself. Yang E smiled faintly at her. It was a small matter, so there was no need to explain. Murphy hugged Shi and was listening to the little girl talk about how much she missed her. However, she couldn't help but glance over. The rebuke in her eyes was very obvious. Why don't we go back to the hotel first? It's not suitable for chatting here. There are people coming and going outside. If we look inside, we can see everything. Also, we just said goodbye to Chen Yijie. He said we can go back and rest early. Mo Xiaojuan suggested. Brother-in-law, where's the hotel you're staying at? Yang E smiled. Same. Four Seasons Hotel. Outside, I have a car. Then let's go back first. Xiaojuan, help me pack up. Murphy walked over with Shi in her arms. She kicked Yang Yi's ankle quietly. She seemed a little unhappy. She pouted and looked up at Yang E. What's wrong? Are you still angry? Yang E reached out to touch Murphy's face and asked softly. The warm big hand was familiar. Murphy wasn't angry at all. She just felt a little wronged. However, it was already broken by Yang Yi's gentle attack. She whispered, No, I just feel so stupid. When you asked me which hotel I was staying at this morning, I didn't know how to react at all. Didn't I want to give you a surprise? Yang E smiled. Yeah, Mom, are you happy? Papa and I suddenly came to see you. She giggled and said innocently, I'm happy. Actually, when I saw you guys, Mom felt very surprised and was in a very good mood. Murphy couldn't pretend anymore. She smiled and said to her daughter. At night, in the presidential suite of the Four Seasons Hotel, Shi, who had been playing for the entire day, fell asleep from exhaustion. The little girl slept very soundly. Perhaps it was because she saw her mother today, but there was a smile on her face. She might have dreamt of something interesting. Who did you call? Murphy came out of the bathroom while drying her hair. She wore a loose nightgown that vaguely revealed her fair neck. Yang E booked the presidential suite, so Murphy naturally had to stay here. Thus, Mo Xiaojuan could only stay in the business suite. I called Fu Jun, isn't he in Yongqing City? I'll invite him for breakfast tomorrow. She and I came to Yongqing City today because of his arrangement. Yang Yi smiled as he placed his phone down. Then you must have a lot of friends. Murphy sighed as she continued, you came to Yongqing City to do something bad, and you have so many people helping you. What do you mean by doing something bad? Yang Yi took the towel from Murphy and helped her dry her hair as he complained. You're still denying it? Murphy was annoyed as she continued, when we were at home, you couldn't hold it in for a few days. You even coaxed she to come and give her a surprise. Do you think I don't know you? Cough cough. I told she. That's also one of the reasons. Most importantly, I wanted to visit you and listen to you sing. Yang Yi awkwardly scratched his head as he continued, the song you sang tonight was so good. The singing of Listen to the Sea made people's hearts surge, and the singing of Might as well not see you made people cry. I think that at least half of Chen Yijie's fans will become your fans after tonight. After listening to the song and visiting you, what's next? Murphy didn't let Yang Yi successfully change the topic. She turned her head and looked at him with sparkling eyes. Then, cough cough. Anyways, the Four Seasons Hotel can't be called this name for nothing, right? Why can't it be called this name for nothing? What's so special about the Four Seasons Hotel? Murphy was a little confused. Cough cough. Look at the floor-to-ceiling windows and the view of the river. It's such a beautiful day. Don't you want to do something? Yang Yi held Mo Fei's hand, pulled her to the window of the living room, and then hugged her from behind. The claw of Lu Shan broke through the defense line that was not very tight to begin with. Do something? Murphy's breathing was a little uneven. She wasn't as relaxed as she was when she sang Listen to the Sea. Do it with the person you love. Yang Yi whispered in her ear. I knew you wanted to do something bad. Bad guy. Chapter 345. Murphy was invited to appear at Chan Yijie's concert. First, she sang Listen to the Sea to warm up the scene, which shocked everyone. Then the two singers cooperated to sing a Cantonese song Better Not to Meet, which was amazing. This incident was naturally reported by many media outlets the next day. However, the focus of the media's reports was different. Some interviewed the audience and reported their praise for Murphy's singing, and some reported Chan Yijie's praise for Murphy. In turn, they dug out Murphy's history and evaluated Murphy. There were also some unconventional entertainment media that put Murphy and Chan Yijie together and used their various interactions to piece together traces of the two scandals. Of course, the rumors of these tabloids were not very credible. After all, the evidence they provided was too weak and there was no solid evidence. Moreover, Chan Yijie had been married for a long time and was a well-known good family man in Harbor City's entertainment circle. No one would believe the rumors. However, these reports, as well as Murphy's amazing performance at the concert, were all converted into amazing energy, which was shown in the follow-up album sales. On the 13th day, the daily sales of Murphy's new album, First Dream, rose sharply again, reaching an astonishing 910,000 copies. Although it has not yet broken 1 million copies, it is currently the #1 album on the daily sales list this month, surpassing the second place by more than 100,000 copies. On the 14th day, the daily sales declined slightly, but it still remained at the level of 900,000 copies. What was more noteworthy was that the album sales of First Dream broke through the shackles of 10 million copies. 10 million was the watershed of a singer's status. Many media felt that if an album could not sell 10 million copies, it was not worthy of being called an A-list singer. But regardless of these differences, there was still more than half a month of new song period, and less than 10 million sales. Murphy's album was still very hopeful to get a platinum record, 20 million sales in Chinese. There were even many media who felt that it was only a matter of time before Murphy's high-quality album got a platinum record. Because even after the new Song Protection Month, Murphy's album could not be removed by the video store. It was not a problem at all to reach 20 million sales. Of course, they were still keen to analyze whether Murphy's album was likely to break through the platinum standard in the first month. From the looks of it, it wasn't impossible to sell it for 10 million in the remaining half a month. Because of the public's defamation, the Internet Water Army could no longer see it. Was it because Murphy's performance was too strong? Or could it be that after this album was released, the real quality could no longer be discredited by the Water Army? The people who wanted to ruin Murphy seemed to have stopped. On the 15th day, Listen to the Sea completed its counterattack and became a new song that had taken the top spot before it even hit the charts. And the song it surpassed was Murphy's own song, In My Voice. It was hard to compare which of the two songs was better, but Listen to the Sea was indeed a song that showed Murphy's singing skills very well. As long as you listened to it once, you would completely like this song. Therefore, Listen to the Sea, strong rise to the top would never go down again. In the next half a month, it steadily suppressed In My Voice, and the other songs of the same period. This was only the beginning. The rise of Listen to the Sea was also the end of Mistress. This song dominated the screen for a month, perfectly giving a great lesson and inspiration to the songwriters in this world. It turned out that slobbering songs could be so popular. Despite the constant scolding and controversy, even on the last day of the new song period, this song was still ranked in the top 10 of the best-selling list. The highest ranking was very close to the first place. This result was already very dazzling for Zhu Jie, who could be said to be a new singer. However, Du Luan still felt that it was not enough and was not satisfied. Ah Jie, look at you not listening to my advice. If you and Murphy had successfully made a scandal, would you need to be ridiculed by these reports now? In Zhu Jie's villa, Du Luan held an entertainment newspaper and talked to Zhu Jie. The big headline on the newspaper was, "The first month of Mistress ended perfectly, and the dark horse newcomer won the third place." Well, it's just that I didn't get the first place. What does that have to do with anything? Zhu Jie looked indifferent. Du Luan frowned. He felt that Zhu Jie's indifference towards his own results was very abnormal, but he did not think much about it. After all, Zhu Jie was usually sloppy and careless. There is a big difference between first and third place. If you are first, people will give you a thumbs up. If you are third, people will definitely laugh at you. Think about it, what's the difference between you and a mistress? Du Luan deliberately said some words to provoke Zhu Jie. What does it matter? Anyway, I am popular now. With the popularity, it won't be too late to fight for the first place when I have a new song. Zhu Jie said confidently. How can it be as easy as you think? A good song is hard to come by. Do you think you have the monster Mu Ziyong behind you? Du Luan wanted to pour the tea in his cup on Zhu Jie's face to wake him up. Zhu Jie did not tell anyone about the day that Mu Ziyong kidnapped him. Du Luan did not tell anyone either. He did not know why, but he did not trust Du Luan as much as before. Therefore, when Zhu Jie heard Du Luan's words, he began to laugh and said, "That's not necessarily true. Who knows? Maybe I will be lucky enough to write another classic song." You really think you can write songs? Du Luan thought that Zhu Jie's idiocy was incurable. He held his forehead and felt a headache coming on. Forget it, I won't persuade you anymore. Since things have come to this point, let's think about the future. I suggest that you shift your focus to variety shows. Your singing is still a bit lacking. If you just focus on being a singer, when the popularity of Mistress fades, your fame will also drop quickly. After all, many fans only recognize the song and not the person. Du Luan analyzed the development of variety shows for him. Currently, variety shows are becoming more and more popular. Many hosts have told me that your artistic sense has always been very good. This means that you have the talent to make a living. Therefore, letting Sister Ling help with the activities and letting you be the host of 1 or 2 big variety shows to maintain your popularity is a good choice. How can they let me be the host of a big variety show? Zhu Jie was not stupid. He sneered. It's not like they want you to be the only host. Nowadays, variety shows have more hosts. You can go to a show with 5 or 6 hosts and be the assistant host. There's no problem at all. Du Luan explained. Okay. Go arrange it. Zhu Jie waved his hand. Oh right. Du Luan, there's one more thing. Ju Jie took out a phone from his pocket and frowned. I remember that you bought this phone for me 2 months ago. Why is it so bad? The battery ran out in half a day and I almost missed a date. The battery is broken? Why don't you change your phone? Just let me use this one. Du Luan smiled. Okay. I'm too lazy to go out. You go buy me the latest and best. Ju Jie said without a care. Chapter 346. 3 Songs Reaching the Top was a small record in the music industry. After Murphy returned to the company, Tian Mei held a small celebration party for her. At the celebration party, Niu Meiling talked and laughed. She even raised a glass to Murphy and all the employees and promised that after Murphy got the platinum album, they would hold a big celebration party. She acted as if nothing had happened, as if she was not the one who asked Mo Fei to create a scandal with Ju Jie in the office before. In terms of words, she was very intimate with Mo Fei, as if she was dreaming of what happened 6 years ago. Mo Fei felt uncomfortable in her heart. She was not a shrewd person, and she didn't like this kind of hypocritical pandering at all, so she reluctantly smiled and kept a cold face, protecting herself with an indifferent armor. Fortunately, Murphy was usually like this, so everyone was used to it and didn't think much of it. Murphy went back to her office, and the uncomfortable feeling dissipated a little. She poured a glass of water for Jean Ming and sincerely thanked him. Thank you, Teacher Jean. Without you spending so much effort on the production, I wouldn't have achieved today's results. Jean Ming drank some wine at the celebration party, but his mind wasn't in a daze. He quickly waved his hand and said, No, it's all because you sang well and Mr. Mu Ziong wrote well. I just added flowers to the brocade. Anyway, I have to thank Teacher Jean for his efforts. You have contributed to this military medal. Mo Xiaozhuan's mouth was much sweeter. If you want to say thank you, I should thank you. This album also increased my fame a lot. Jean Ming smiled and said, Moreover, I also learned a lot from working with Murphy and Mr. Mu Ziong. Then, Teacher Jean, have you received a lot of invitations? What do you plan to do next? Mo Xiaozhuan's eyes rolled as she asked. Indeed, there are a lot of invitations. Jean Ming smiled and said, However, I haven't thought about it yet, because I'm still serving Miss Murphy now. I want to finish what I started and finish the contract for this album before I think about what to do next. Not only were there a lot of invitations, but Jean Ming's value was also rising, but Jean Ming didn't say it. On my side, I've basically finished the arrangement, and there's nothing else. Teacher Jean, if you want to arrange other things, it's okay, Murphy said. In fact, there weren't many places to use the producer in the later stage. When Murphy and Duan Shurong worked together, Duan Shurong was only responsible for the album's production. Later, she began to participate in the production work of other singers. Although, according to the agreement, she was in charge of the new album, and everyone was aware of the unspoken rules. So they didn't deliberately stop her and turned a blind eye to it. It's okay, it's okay. Jean Ming quickly waved his hand and said, I think I still need to settle down, settle down. Jean Ming was very clear about his own situation. Although the outside world was praising him, Jean Ming understood that it was only because he was basking in the glory of this album. He had not become a gold medal producer like the outside world had said. If Jean Ming was really inflated by this flattery and proudly accepted new orders, he was afraid that Jean Ming would end up like himself a few years ago. He would go from being a genius who was flattered to failing one after another, and then fall to the point where no one cared about him. By the way, since Teacher Jean hasn't made any arrangements yet, why don't I introduce you to one? Murphy suddenly changed the topic and said, Haven't you always wanted to see Mu Ziong? This project is another new song by Mu Ziong, but it's not me, it's someone else. But, Teacher Jean, this time, you can communicate with Mu Ziong face to face and cooperate with him. What do you think? In the past, Murphy would respectfully call him Teacher Mu Ziong, but since she knew Yang Yi's identity, she couldn't say the word Teacher Mu Ziong. Mr. Mu Zi-ong? I can cooperate with him. Ji Ningming was surprised and asked in disbelief. In Ji Ningming's heart, Mu Zi-ong was a god. He admired and looked forward to meeting Mu Zi-ong, but Ji Ningming never thought that he could really meet his god and have the opportunity to cooperate with him. Mu Zi-ong didn't know that someone was madly worshipping him. He was just like an ordinary person. No, he was just an ordinary person who was moving for his sister. Let me tell you, you're just living and studying there. You should eat at home. Don't buy junk food outside. Yang Yi carried a large suitcase in his left and right hands as he walked down the stairs in front of them. The suitcases looked big, but they weren't heavy. They were stuffed with Yang Huan's clothes, most of which were bought by Murphy. I know, brother. Don't worry, I'll take care of myself. Yang Huan's hands were not idle, either. Carrying her backpack, her laptop bag, and a large woven bag that contained winter quilts and mattresses, she said with a smile, "But speaking of which, brother, why are you getting more and more talkative? You weren't so talkative in the past. You're almost as talkative as our mother." Yang Yi, who was walking in front, was embarrassed. He pulled a long face and said, "Isn't it because I care about you?" "Don't be. I've only been here for a month, and you talked a lot when I was here. I think you changed yourself because of sister-in-law and Shi, Yang Huan said with a smile. Yang Yi didn't say anything. Yang Huan was right, but he didn't want to admit it. Yang Yi threw the 2 suitcases into the trunk of Tyrannical Wolf. He then took the woven bag from Yang Huan and put it in as well. "Wait for me here. I'll get your backpack and pillow." Yang Yi pointed at Yang Huan. When he came down, there was a little girl following behind him. Shi, who didn't have to go to kindergarten, carried her backpack and followed her father down. Her backpack contained some cosmetics that Murphy had bought for Yang Huan. The girl also had a mission. "Auntie, will you stop playing with me in the future?" In the car, Shi pouted and asked unhappily. Shi was a little unhappy when she found out that Yang Huan was moving out. "Why would I? I only live nearby with your sister Ding Xiang. Usually, I play with Shi at the coffee shop or at home. Besides, Shi, you can also come to my house. It's not far away." Yang Huan smiled and pinched Shi's chubby cheeks. It was indeed close. Before Yang Huan could finish her words, Yang Yi had already pulled over. Ding Xiang, who was cleaning upstairs, hurried down and helped carry the things upstairs. Guazi also arrived at the same time. He volunteered to carry the heaviest box, but after climbing 2 flights of stairs, the little fatty couldn't take it anymore. Fortunately, the kind-hearted Ding Xiang swapped places with him. "Don't try to be brave." Ding Xiang couldn't help but complain. "Wow, this place is so beautiful. Can I come to your house to play in the future?" She jumped up and down and looked around the newly decorated house. She looked at the rooms one by one as if she was patrolling her territory. Shi, you can come here because you are a girl." Yang Yi put down the suitcase and patted his daughter's head. However, his eyes drifted over Guazi. "After today, only girls can come here to play. Boys are not allowed. Can't Papa be a boy? Papa is a boy." She blinked her big eyes and pointed out the loophole in her father's words. "Yes, Papa can't either. Papa needs to set an example," Yang Yi said to his daughter with a smile. "Ahem, Sister Ding Xiang, Sister Huan, these 2 sets of keys, plus the one in Sister Ding Xiang's hand, are all the keys to this house. I promise, there are no other keys. So don't worry, no one else can come in." Being glanced at by Yang Yi, Guazi, who felt like there were thorns in his back, quickly took the initiative to hand over the keys he brought this time. "No need." Yang Yi smiled faintly. He took out 2 boxes and some tools from the bag he brought with him. "It's necessary to change the locks when you're living in a new place. The keys to these 2 locks I prepared for you are quite special. Usually, you can't find a place to match them. So, I'll leave 2 for Huan and Ding Xiang. The last set is with me. If you forget to bring your keys, you can come and get them from me. Few people listened to Yang Yi's words. He used simple tools to complete the removal and installation of the locks. His swift and familiar movements were not inferior to those of a real lock changer. This scene made everyone stunned. Chapter 347. Murphy already knew that Yang Huan wanted to move out. Even though Yang Huan tried to explain it to her, she still felt bad about it. Therefore, Murphy went to Yang Huan's house to visit. Yang Huan's house was very different from Yang Yi's house and Murphy's house in the coastal area. The more Murphy looked at it, the more she felt that she had mistreated Yang Huan. Thus, she turned around and asked Mo Xiaowan to order better furniture, electrical appliances, and some daily necessities. The small house was filled to the brim. Don't think that your brother is good at taking care of people. In fact, as a man, there are always things that he doesn't consider. For example, he didn't buy necessary appliances like the refrigerator, microwave, and oven for you. Although Ding Xiang usually eats at home, she wants to cook for herself. Or when you're hungry from studying at night and want to cook, you can't find the ingredients and tools. Yang Huan didn't want it, so Murphy and Yang Huan discussed it and didn't allow Yang Huan to reject it. Yang Huan and Ding Xiang could only smile bitterly at each other. The two girls wanted to keep everything simple. They were born poor, so they wouldn't mind if they used the old landlord's furniture. Even if they used to live in the old house, it was much better than living in the old house. Ding Xiang felt very uneasy after moving out. She felt that if she didn't live in the dormitory, she would be wasting the 2,000 yuan that she spent on the school year. She panicked at the thought. However, she didn't expect that the situation would become more and more ridiculous. With Yang Yi and Murphy's arrangement, Yang Huan and Ding Xiang started to live a luxurious life. How could they live with it? Even Yang Huan shuddered at the sight of the furniture that was worth thousands of yuan being moved in. However, Murphy didn't know what it meant to go too far. She wanted to maintain a good sister-in-law relationship with Yang Huan, but Murphy was clumsy and didn't know how to talk. She was usually too busy to go home, so she could only compensate her sister-in-law in her own way. Yang Huan and Ding Xiang couldn't refuse her kindness, so they could only accept it with a bitter smile. This was just a small episode. Mo Fei didn't have much time to add furniture for Yang Huan and Ding Xiang. She just rested for a day and then flew to Shanghai to start the song Listen to the Sea, to make it onto the charts. Cut. Very good, this one passed. Du Yuanlei stood up tiredly, clapped her hands, and said, "That's all for today. Tomorrow, we'll gather all the extras to shoot the remaining scenes, including the ones in the piano room. As long as everyone is in good condition, we should be able to finish filming by noon." Yeah. Guazi, who was sitting in front of the piano on the stage of the auditorium, was the first to shout excitedly. The current Guazi had a completely different personality from the Guang who had been singing passionately in front of the camera. This contrast made everyone laugh uncontrollably. "Ms. Yang, do you have something to say?" When everyone was packing up, Du Yuanlei politely asked Yang Yi, who came to observe again today. "Oh, here's the thing, everyone." Yang Yi clapped his hands to attract everyone's attention. "Thank you for your hard work in the past half a month. This micro-movie is going very well. I even know that many people like Gua, Wang Chao, Qin Wen, and so on have been putting all their energy into this movie without studying for the final exam." Yang Yi said a few polite and touching words, then smiled and said, "But it doesn't matter. Everyone's efforts are worth it. This micro-movie will be the first work of online micro-movies, and you will be recorded in history and remembered by everyone." Yang Yi wasn't exaggerating. It was the truth. There was no such thing as a micro-movie. If they were the first to shoot it, they would be the first to eat crabs. As long as they succeeded, the honor they would receive would be incomparable to the small amount of money they received. When they were still students, honor was obviously more attractive than benefits. So, when Yang Yi used this as chicken soup for the soul to motivate them, everyone was a little excited and proud. Of course, the rewards I promised to give everyone won't be small. After tomorrow's shoot, We will go to the most luxurious Xining International Hotel in Tingshan District for a buffet. Other people's banquets are all street food stalls. Let's change. Before Yang Yi finished, other than the calm Du Yuan Lei, everyone cheered excitedly. Guazi didn't lack money, but he liked to eat, so he cheered the loudest. Xining International Hotel's buffet. I heard that the buffet at noon costs more than 400 yuan per person. This is much more expensive than any street food stalls. There's more. Yang Yi smiled and said, after eating and drinking, I will treat everyone to a bar. Guazi shouted excitedly again. Wang Chao also waved his fist excitedly and shouted, Yang Yi. Brother Yang, I'll just eat. Can I not go to a bar? That place is not suitable for me. Qin Wen moved over. She didn't want to interrupt others' fun, so she whispered to Yang Yi. After all, she was a famous female star. It wouldn't be good if someone took a picture of her. Of course, this is my negligence. Yang Yi patted his head and said to Qin Wen with a smile. Yang Yi turned his head and said to everyone, of course, the idea of going to a bar was proposed by Guazi. So, the after-meal activity is voluntary. If you want to go, you can sign up with Guazi. Guazi will organize it. When the time comes, I will take you there. If you don't like such an environment, you can make your own arrangements after eating the buffet. Du Yuan Lei was secretly relieved. She also didn't like such an environment. Guazi wanted to go to a bar to play, mainly because he wanted to be fresh. He wasn't old enough to go into a bar. He asked Ding Xiang to sneak in with him. Of course, last time, he just watched the fun and didn't have enough fun. This time, there was such a big group of people, so Guazi didn't have to worry about not being able to blend in. However, Guazi was still very loyal to his friends. As the saying goes, politeness demands reciprocity. Ding Xiang helped him once, so he felt that he had to repay her. After dispersing on the set, Guazi ran straight to the coffee shop at the corner of the street to find Ding Xiang. He said sweetly, Sister Ding Xiang, since you have nothing to do tomorrow, why don't you come with us to eat the buffet and go to the bar? Just treat it as me treating you back. Guazi was worried that Ding Xiang wouldn't be willing to spend money, so he said with a smile, It's okay. It's Brother Yang's treat, and then we'll go to the bar. Some girls don't want to go, so it's a waste if you don't go. Yang Yi agreed, and so did the others. Although Ding Xiang had only been to the set twice, everyone knew that this skinny girl was the chef who had prepared so many delicious food for them. My brother is treating. How can it be considered as you treating my sister Ding Xiang? Yang Huan glanced at the two and deliberately teased Guazi. Then it's not a treat. I just want to take Sister Ding Xiang to have fun, Guazi quickly explained. Then why don't you take me to have fun? Yang Huan tilted her head and asked with interest. Well, Sister Huan, don't you have to stay at home tomorrow to help Brother Yang take care of the kids? Guazi reacted quickly. Tisk, just tell me if you don't want to treat me. I don't want to go to that kind of place anyway. Yang Huan made a face at Guazi. Ding Xiang waited for them to finish before saying softly, I'd better not go tomorrow. Huan has to take care of Shi. She can't do it alone. I have to help her. Yang Huan waved her hand and said with a smile, Don't, Sister Ding Xiang. I'm just kidding. You go and have fun with Xiao Gua. With my brother around, nothing will happen even if you go to the bar. It's just taking care of Cici. I can do it myself. Guazi also found an excuse and said, Sister Ding Xiang, you have to go. You know the people inside so you can help me get in. Otherwise, everyone will go in and I'll be the only one left outside. How pitiful. Hearing what he said, the kind-hearted Ding Xiang hesitated. Then Xiao Gua, you have to take good care of our sister Ding Xiang. Yang Huan made the decision for Ding Xiang with a smile. Of course. Guazi patted his chest and said. Chapter 348. Initially, Yang Yi wanted to send Shi to kindergarten and return to the set to wait for the filming to be completed. However, Lu Benji's visit still delayed Yang Yi for a moment. Lu Benji was the manager of the Sahara Publishing House. Now that the publishing house was restructured, Yang Yi promoted Lu Benji to the position of deputy editor. However, the job wasn't much different from before, and he was still in charge of Yang Yi's works. Please take a seat. If there's anything, you can just say it over the phone. There's no need for you to come all the way here. Yang Yi smiled at Lu Benji. Sitting before Yang Yi, Lu Benji held a stack of manuscripts in his hand. It was the manuscript that Yang Yi gave to Lu Benji a few days ago. With a bitter smile, Lu Benji replied, I had no choice but to come. After reading your book, my feelings are complicated, and I can't explain it over the phone. You're done reading it? Yes, I'm done. Not only did Lu Benji finish reading it, he even read it a few times. It wasn't easy for him to figure out the plot, and he also saw many details that he couldn't see in the first and second reading. How is it? Give me an objective evaluation. Yang Yi asked in high spirits. Yang Yi had spent a lot of effort to adapt this book, and he had no idea how effective it was. Hence, he wanted Lu Benji's feedback. It's a terrifying novel. To be honest, it gave me goosebumps, but I couldn't stop myself. Lu Benji sighed. Mr. Yang, your conception is truly unparalleled. Furthermore, compared to your previous works, even the popular Prison Break, this book's plot is more meticulous and logical. After a brief hesitation, Lu Benji firmly said, It's the most unique, exciting, and thrilling mystery novel that I've ever read. Letting out a sigh of relief, Yang Yi smiled. With such an evaluation, I'm relieved. At the very least, he didn't destroy a classic. But the problem is that this novel is too different from your original style. I'm afraid that your readers won't be able to accept it. Lu Benji actually wanted to talk to Yang Yi about this problem. What do you mean? Yang Yi frowned. It has nothing to do with the subject matter. It's just that your original style is still relatively positive. Soldier's Assault and Drawing Sword are novels that encourage people to be positive. Let's not talk about the fairy tale book you wrote for your daughter. Although Sins of the Past also walks on the edge of darkness, it's still good overall. Even though Prison Break is a story about a group of criminals, the style of the story is still focused on fighting evil. Lu Benji sighed and said, But in this book, your protagonists are all villains. Even if I admit that they have a sunny side, but everything they do can't be said to be good. And then, I'm afraid that the readers you've accumulated won't be able to accept it, Lu Benji whispered. So you're saying that my book about villains can't be published? Yang Yi was still a little surprised. No, that's not what I meant. This book is very good. It dissects human nature very deeply. People who like it will like it very much. It's just that I think you should consider changing your pen name and specialize in this type of book, so as to avoid losing the original readers. Lu Benji finally gave his suggestion after being naggy for so long. Yang Yi was amused. He said, So that's what you're worried about. Then let me ask you, if I change my pen name, will the number of readers be more or less than what I have now? It will definitely be less in the early stages, but it's hard to say in the later stages. I think this novel is a rare top work in suspense novels. Readers who like suspense novels will be very loyal to your novel, so the number of readers will also increase in the later stages. It's just that I don't know how many readers there will be. It's hard to compare. Lu Benji said. Then don't change it. Yang Yi waved his hand and said, I'm not an author who only writes about one theme. Military, fairy tales, crime, each of these themes is very different from the others, and the readers are also different. But what does it matter? I don't need to care about the loss of readers. The gap will be filled by new readers. As long as the quality of the work is guaranteed, there's nothing to be afraid of. Well, Lu Benji's will was not firm. After Yang Yi raised his objection, he didn't mention the matter of changing Yang Yi's pen name again. He just discussed the plan of the new book with Yang Yi, and soon left. Whether it was a movie or a TV series, they were not shot in the order of the plot. Because of the cost, the director would mess up the order of the shooting and try to finish the scenes in the same set at the same time. The crew of Fairy Tale was like this. The last few scenes before the end of filming were not the scene of Su Shishir lying on the hospital bed with her hands hanging down weakly, but the scene of Guang and Su Shishir in the piano room. Guang was playing the piano, and Su Shishir fainted and fell down. Cut. Du Yuanlei shouted again. She paused and looked at Su Shishir, who was still lying on the ground. She said softly, "Qin Wen, get up first." Qin Wen sighed and got up from the ground. She complained, "Sigh, is it still not enough? If I fall down again, I'll be dead." For the last scene, Du Yuanlei had NGs many times. She wanted to shoot it perfectly. She wanted to capture the shock of Su Shishir's fall. She also wanted to capture Guang, who was playing the piano and turned his head when he heard the sound. He was stunned, at a loss, and in disbelief. Du Yuanlei was very careful with every detail. Therefore, she NGs again and again. She asked Guazi to make the ordinary dullness into a complicated dullness. She also asked Qin Wen to make the fainting scene more realistic. Yang Yi, who was watching from the side, felt sorry for Qin Wen. This little star really worked hard when she was acting. She fell down again, and she didn't hesitate at all. Not only was she in pain, but everyone who was watching also felt sorry for her. In fact, Yang Yi felt that Guazi and Qin Wen had filmed it very well. Especially the scene just now, he felt his heart tremble when he saw it. He didn't know why Du Yuanlei still felt that it was not enough. He was puzzled in his heart, but he didn't interfere with Du Yuanlei's direction. Du Yuanlei waited for everyone to look over. Just when everyone thought that she was going to talk about the script, she smiled slightly and winked playfully, which was a rare sight. She quickly said, "I hereby announce that our micro-movie called Fairy Tale has finished filming." Everyone was stunned for a while. The reaction seemed to be a bit slow, and the scene was a bit awkward. Why is there no reaction? Du Yuanlei waved her hand in embarrassment. Surprise? Really finished? Wang Chao asked uncertainly. "It's really finished," Guazi reacted. He jumped up from the piano stool excitedly and waved his fist. At this moment, everyone really cheered. Although it was a bit awkward just now, the joy of completion made them jump up happily. Du Yuanlei, who had been serious for half a month, also smiled. Although she was very fierce before, and although she fooled everyone just now, she was still surrounded by everyone. She was even thrown up in the air. "Let's go, it's finished. Let's go to the buffet." After a while, Yang Yi was also surrounded by everyone. He waved his hand heroically. "I have also prepared champagne for all of you. Today we have to celebrate." Chapter 349. After school in the afternoon, Shishi was picked up by her father. No, to be exact, she was taken to her aunt's house. "Papa, why don't we go home?" Cici was carried upstairs by her father. The winding staircase was a little dark, but fortunately, she was in her father's arms. Although the little girl was a little scared, she still carefully looked around and whispered in her father's ear, "What happened?" "Papa, I have something to do tonight." Yang Yi lied to his daughter. If he told her that he was going to play, the little girl would definitely not want to stay at home alone and would insist on going with him. "So, you can stay with your aunt. She has already cooked dinner and will take you to take a bath. Later, Papa will come back and take you home to sleep." "Okay." "Papa, aren't you going to stay with Shishi?" Shishi looked around timidly. She felt that it was different from the last time she came here. It seemed a little scary. Of course, it was different. Last time, they moved here during the day. Although it was only evening now, it was winter and the sky darkened quickly. The light in the corridor was dim and the front always looked dark, as if there was a monster hiding there. "Yes, but Papa told you that Papa has something to do and will come back to pick you up in the evening." Yang Yi smiled and kissed his daughter's face. Okay. Well, okay. But Papa, you have to come back early. I'm scared. She put her head on her father's chest. Although she felt a little wronged in her heart, she was still very obedient. When they arrived at Yang Huan's place, the room was bright. She was more familiar with the furnishings here. Seeing her aunt in an apron cooking, the little girl relaxed a little. Wait a minute. Auntie is about to finish cooking. Yang Huan reached out her fist and bumped Shishi's fist in a manly way. Shishi had always thought that this way of greeting was very amusing. After bumping her little fist, a bright smile appeared on her little face. Seeing his daughter smile, Yang Yi was relieved. He stood in the living room and said to Yang Huan, who was in the open kitchen, "Then I'll leave Cici in your care. Have you read the things I've written you to take note of and do? Is the milk powder, clothes, and everything else still complete? It's just taking care of a child, easy. You don't have to tell me. I know how to do it," Yang Huan said with a grin. Really? Yang Yi was doubtful of Yang Huan's confidence. "Leave it to me, don't worry. Hurry up, everyone is waiting for you." Yang Huan waved his hand to drive him away. Yang Yi reminded Shi one last time and left. He brought everyone to Xianing International Hotel to celebrate, but he only ate a few mouthfuls of the buffet. Then he went to pick up his daughter, leaving the rest of the team to continue cleaning up the place. Yang Yi guessed that they had started to move. Those who went to the bar to have fun followed Guazi and Ding Xiang. Only Qin Wen, Du Yuan Lei, and a girl who was in charge of the bar did not go with them. They went shopping together. Therefore, Yang Yi had to hurry up and meet them at the bar. After her father left, Shi sat on the sofa. She was a little nervous, but her little head was still turning around, looking for something new to look at. "Hey Shi, come on, it's time to eat." Yang Huan came out with the washed dishes and saw Shi sitting on the sofa. She smiled and called out to her. "Yes. Okay." Cici hurriedly got down from the sofa. Even if it was a short distance, she still had to jog a few steps. "Why are you wearing so many clothes for dinner? Take them off." Yang Huan did these things very quickly. She helped Shi take off her scarf and thick down jacket. "Put them on after dinner. I don't have a heater here, unlike your father's house. You can't go wrong wearing warm clothes." Shi pulled the sweater, which was a little uncomfortable because it was rolled up, and asked curiously, "Auntie, why don't you have a heater?" "My papa has one." "Well, because I haven't put one on, and I don't plan to. Your sister Ding Xiang and I are not afraid of the cold." Yang Huan bent down and pinched Shishi's little nose, and said with a smile, "Where is sister Ding Xiang?" She was carried by Yang Huan and sat on her high chair. Obviously, Yang Yi had moved it here in advance. "Your sister Ding Xiang, well, she has something to do tonight, so she went to class." Yang Huan lied without blinking. "Class? At night? Then sister Ding Xiang is so pitiful." She frowned and felt sorry for sister Ding Xiang. "Haha, let's not talk about her. Come on, Shi, try the fusho fish that I made. Is it delicious?" Yang Huan smiled and put a piece of fish in Shishi's bowl. The fusho fish was actually tilapia. Yang Huan braised it, so it smelled very good. However, she did not eat. She pouted and said, "Auntie, you haven't picked out any bones. I'm afraid of bones, so my father will pick them out for me. There are no bones in this fish. I promise you." Yang Huan put the fish in Shishi's bowl, about 2 inches below the head of the fish, on the back of the spine, where the fish was the strongest and most delicious, and there were no bones. Cici dubiously scooped up the meat and rice with a small spoon. She chewed with her small mouth and started eating. "Is it delicious?" Yang Huan asked expectantly. "It's delicious." Cici nodded and said while cheering, "Hee, that's for sure. I used to cook a lot at home. So, I'm good at cooking." Yang Huan smiled and said, "Compared to your father's cooking, which one is better?" The Young family was a very traditional family. To put it bluntly, the so-called tradition was male chauvinism. All the housework was done by the women, while the men farmed outside and worked hard. When they came back, all they did was wait for food and drink. These ideas seemed very feudal, but after all, it was a relatively poor village. It was not rare for the older generation to have such ideas. Therefore, not to mention Yang Yi in the past, Father Yang did not know how to cook, and neither did Yang Qing. Although Yang Huan was doted on by her two brothers, Mother Yang would still order her to do housework, afraid that she would be too naughty in the future and not be able to get married if she did not know how to do housework. Of course, Yang Yi now was like a different person. At first, Yang Huan wondered why Yang Yi knew how to cook. Later, when she saw that Murphy did not know how to cook at all, she assumed that Yang Yi learned how to cook from Murphy. However, Yang Huan was asking for humiliation by asking this question. How could she be compared with Yang Yi? What was more, she was asking Yang Yi's loyal fan, Shi. My father is delicious. She said immediately and affirmatively. She did not notice her mistake, and neither did Yang Huan. She purposely imitated Shi and said, I don't believe it. That's right. She was very straightforward and said anxiously, Why don't we wait for my father to come back and ask him to cook for you? My father can cook a lot of delicious food. You've tasted it before. All right, I won't tease you anymore. Your father's cooking is indeed better than little auntie's. However, I still have to try little auntie's cooking today for a change of taste, right? Yang Lu couldn't stop laughing. After dinner, Yang Huan was not in a hurry to take Shi to take a bath, so she played with the little girl in the living room. However, what should they play? Shi, what do you want to play? Yang Huan asked directly. Shi was sitting on the sofa with her feet under her butt. I want to watch TV. I want to watch Rem. She pointed at the wall-mounted TV and said. This was left by the previous landlord. It was also the TV that Guang and Su Sheshe watched together after they moved in Fairy Tale. Watch TV? But we haven't launched this service yet. I can't watch it. Yang Huan spread out her hands. Shi and Ding Xiang didn't want to launch a TV service because they didn't watch much TV. It would be a waste of money if they did. Then what should we play? She swayed from side to side in boredom and then fell on the sofa. She turned over and got up again. Her hair was a little messy, but she was smiling as if she was having fun. What do you and your father play at home? Yang Huan asked. Toys. Auntie, do you have any toys? She asked. No, your father forgot to bring it here. Yang Huan shook her head. Then, I play with Xiao Guai. Auntie, do you have Xiao Guai? No. Yang Huan shook her head again. My father can tell me stories. Auntie, do you know how to tell stories? Yang Huan was dazed and embarrassed. No. Oh, Auntie, why don't you know how to tell stories? My papa is so good at telling stories. Cici proudly puffed out her little chest and praised her father without holding back. Can't you tell me something that I can do? Yang Huan was on the verge of breaking down. Then. In fact, Cici was also trying to help her aunt think of a way. Her big eyes suddenly lit up as if she had thought of something. She said, My papa will become Sun Wukong. Auntie, will you? Chapter 350. What was Sun Wukong? Why could Big Brother change? Yang Huan was confused. It's just taking care of a child. It's easy. At this moment, Yang Huan blushed as he recalled the words he had confidently boasted to his big brother. She had never taken care of a child alone, so she had no idea how difficult it was to play with a child. She was the most obedient one. She was still trying her best to help her aunt. If the little girl had said, Why don't you know how to do anything? Yang Huan would have been so embarrassed that she would have found a hole to hide in. Leaving Shi aside, Yang Yi had already met up with Guazi and the others at the bar. Among them, the most excited one was not Guazi, but Wang Chao. This guy very coquettishly wore a red headband on his head, causing his hair to stand up. He didn't know if it was cool or not, but it was quite unconventional and suited the environment very well. He was not usually like this. Usually, he was Du Yuanlei's follower. Today, he came to the bar to play. Was he going to let himself go? Yang Yi did not mind. He found a quiet booth that could seat 7 or 8 people and asked them to sit down. Then, he took the drink list from the bartender and handed it to them. What do you want to drink? Order as much as you want. Yang Yi smiled and said, I want this one. It's hot. Wang Chao leaned over and looked at it with Guazi. He pointed at one of the glasses and shouted, Wow, it's like blood. It's called Bloody Mary. You dare to drink this? A guy next to him exclaimed, Zhu Liang, don't underestimate me, okay? It's not real blood. Why wouldn't I dare to drink it? Wang Chao puffed out his chest. Zhu Liang was the lighting technician of the film crew. He was also a photography student. Bloody Mary. It might be a little spicy. Can you handle it? Yang Yi kindly reminded him. I'm not afraid of spicy food. Brother Yang. I'm from Sichuan. I might have eaten spicy food. Alright, give him a Bloody Mary, and I'll have a mojito. Yang Yi skillfully nodded to the bartender. Big Brother Yang, I also want a cup of Bloody Mary. Zhu Liang said, I want to try it too. Why did you choose the same thing as me? Wang Chao started bickering with him. On the other side, Guazi was also discussing with Ding Xiang what they wanted to drink. Neither of them had ever spent money in a bar. Even Ding Xiang, who had worked here for a while, had never paid attention to what the guests wanted to drink. The things on the wine list were still very fresh to them. So expensive? Ding Xiang looked at the price tag and couldn't help but click her tongue. Cocktails started at 50 yuan, and it was only a small cup. Even water was sold here for more than 30 yuan a cup. Ding Xiang looked at the wine list, and she felt terrible. How about I don't drink? I'll just sit here. Ding Xiang whispered to Guazi. You don't want to drink. It doesn't matter, we have that kind of non-alcoholic drink here. Guazi misunderstood. He turned to the back and pointed to the juice-mixed drinks and said, Well, girls who come to the bar, it's best to drink less. Yang Yi smiled and said to another girl, Long and I, what do you want to drink? Long and I is the makeup artist of the crew, but she is not a student of Jiang Chuan, just a friend of Du Yuanlei. She ordered a bottle of low-alcohol dark beer. Finally, Guazi ordered himself a glass of good-looking margarita and ordered Ding Xiang a non-alcoholic drink called Sunrise, which was mixed with orange juice, lemon juice, and pomegranate juice. The color had a gradual change from yellow to red, very much like the appearance of the sun. Ding Xiang's glass of juice also cost 50 yuan. She wanted to change it to the cheapest water, but Guazi saw through her intention and did not agree. They drank very quickly, followed by some fruit platters, fries, and other snacks, which Yang Yi specially ordered for these bar newbies to eat. If they only drink, I'm afraid they will have to lie down and go back. F***CK, it's really Bloody Mary. It looks like blood. After Wang Chao and Zhu Liang's wine came, Zhu Liang held a small octagonal cup and looked at the thick wine inside. He could not help but click his tongue. Zhu Liang, since you ordered it, don't tell me you don't dare to drink it? Wang Chao deliberately provoked him. Why would I not dare to drink it? I'm afraid you don't dare to drink it. Zhu Liang was not convinced. Wang Chao raised his eyebrows. He picked up his glass of Bloody Mary and took a sip. In fact, that glass of Bloody Mary was only enough for 2 or 3 small sips. Wang Chao only took 1 sip and it was already half gone. However, he only frowned and swallowed it. Your turn. Wang Chao pointed to Zhu Liang. In fact, cocktails are not drunk like this. Yang Yi thought it was funny, but he did not interfere. He only looked at them with interest. Zhu Liang was not convinced. He also picked up the cup and drank a big mouthful. Suddenly, the cup was almost empty. Cough cough, cough cough. Zhu Liang was suddenly choked by the smell of wine and spiciness. He turned his head and violently coughed. Especially the spicy taste, this choking was uncomfortable enough. Zhu Liang coughed until tears flowed out. Fortunately, Yang Yi saw that the situation was not good and asked someone to bring a cup of water for him to drink a few mouthfuls. Only then did Zhu Liang recover. Is it that bad? Guazi and Ding Xiang were dumbfounded. It's not bad, it's just a little spicy. Who told him to drink it so quickly? Wang Chao turned his head to look at Guazi, beaming with joy, and said with schadenfreude. Who said it's so spicy? Is there chili sauce in it? Zhu Liang's face was now red. He felt like he was about to burst into flames. He could not help but complain. Bloody Mary! There is chili oil in it, but it's not chili sauce. The thick one is tomato juice. Yang Yi smiled. Drink it slowly. Do you want another cup? No, no, I want to drink something normal. Zhu Liang made a fool of himself. This wine has a psychological shadow. Is your cup also juice? It also looks good. Ding Xiang curiously asked Guazi. The margarita is yellow and looks like orange juice. The most beautiful thing is the circle of snowflakes around the cup, which is actually salt. No, it's made with tequila, lemon juice, and something else. I don't remember clearly. Do you want to try? Guazi pushed his wine in front of Ding Xiang. Ding Xiang was drinking her fruit juice. She protected her fruit juice and stepped back. Her eyes were full of smiles. I don't want it. Yours is so expensive. It's just a little bit and it's already more than 60 yuan. It's not even half of mine. This is the first time they come to a bar to drink. These guys are still very excited. Of course, one cup is definitely not enough. After they finish their initial order, they will also order some other drinks to try. Yang Yi, on the other hand, did not drink. He was like a bystander, sitting on the side and looking at them with a smile. Then he slowly sipped his mojito, quietly savoring the sharp contrast between the strong taste of rum and the fresh taste of mint. Of course, this wine is actually ordinary. After all, this is a civilian bar. Compared to the high-end bars Yang Yi went to in his previous life, the rum used is not authentic. But Yang Yi's interest in alcohol is not as big as coffee. Therefore, whether it is authentic or not, it doesn't matter. Moreover, Yang Yi no longer had the rough vigor of wearing a mask in the bar in his previous life. He was more willing to sit in the booth, slowly drinking while quietly listening to music. So this is what a bar looks like. Zhu Liang's sigh made Yang Yi come back to his senses. I thought the bar would be very messy, where everyone is shaking their head and dancing. The music is so loud that you can't even hear clearly. You're talking about a disco. This is a Qing bar. Wang Chao said. It's not a Qing bar. There is a place for dancing. To be exact, it's called a slow roll bar. Yang Yi smiled and corrected, but it's still different from a disco. The sound here is not too loud, even on the dance floor. Yes, generally after 9 o'clock, the number of people dancing will increase. Ding Xiang used to work here, so she has the most right to speak. If you want to go and play, that's fine. Don't just focus on drinking. Don't look at how sober you are right now. Cocktails are like this, drinking and drinking, you will suddenly become blacked out. Yang Yi encouraged, right, we can only play until 9 o'clock, then we will send you back to school. Any later and your dorm will be closed. I want to go. Wang Chao excitedly said. Today he came here to let himself go. Will there be any problems? I feel that dancing in a bar is not good. Zhu Liang said worriedly. Let's go, brother Yang, let's go play together. It's fine. Even if something happens, we have brother Yang, what are we afraid of? Guazi was very calm, stood up and encouraged, brother Yang can fight 10 people. Nonsense. Yang Yi did not know whether to laugh or cry and said, If you want to play, then go play. Don't listen to Gua Zi's nonsense. As long as you are careful, what can happen? It's not like he has the Conan physique. Chapter 351. It turned out that Yang Yi didn't have Conan's physique, so he didn't encounter trouble everywhere. As a matter of fact, Guazi and Wang Chao went out to dance. When they came back, both of them were sweating, but nothing happened. Wang Chao, is it fun? Zhu Liang asked enviously. It's fun. Once you're on the dance floor, you won't know north, south, east, or west. You only know how to dance to the music. Wang Chao said coolly as he pulled off his hairband, tidied up his hair, and put it back on. What if I don't know how to dance? Zhu Liang hesitated. You can still dance even if you don't know how to dance. Brother Chao doesn't know how to dance, so he just blindly swings around. Guazi said with a grin. Who says I don't know how to dance? Who can dance better than me around here? Wang Chao's face turned red. He didn't know if it was because he drank too much or because he was ashamed of being exposed. He shouted, Zhu Liang, don't be so cowardly. Anyway, on the dance floor, no one cares how you dance. You're just jumping around. Brother Yang, let's go play together. Guazi also urged. Ding Xiang smiled and reminded him, if you want to go, hurry up and go now. There will be more people later, and the dance floor will be crowded. There won't even be a place to stand. Let's go. Zhu Liang hardened his heart. Hey, wait for me, I'll go too. Long and I also couldn't hold back and excitedly followed. At the booth, only Yang Yi and Ding Xiang were left. Ding Xiang, don't be so reserved. Today we came out to play. Don't think about anything else. If you want to play, then go. Yang Yi raised his eyebrows and said to Ding Xiang, who had been holding her glass of gradually changing juice. Ding Xiang didn't know if she was reluctant to drink it or worried that Yang Yi would spend more money, but she only drank half of this glass of juice after drinking for a long time. Those people didn't know how many glasses they had changed. Yang Yi was afraid that they would get drunk as soon as they came up, so he asked them to order low-alcohol champagne cocktails. Brother Yang, I don't like dancing. Let's forget it. Ding Xiang waved her hand in embarrassment. Yang Yi smiled and didn't try to persuade him. He drank his mojito while listening to the band's song. Big Brother Yang, why aren't you dancing? Ding Xiang asked curiously. Oh me. Dancing is suitable for you young people. As an old man, forget it. Yang Yi said with a smile. Big Brother Yang, you're only in your early 30s. How can you be old? Ding Xiang defended him. Yang Yi smiled but didn't say anything. In this life, he was indeed in his early 30s, but in his previous life, he wasn't sure how old he was when he died, because he was kidnapped by an assassin organization and sent abroad. From the time he could remember, he lived in a world of killing. He didn't know his name, birthplace, or birthday. He could only roughly estimate that when he died, he was almost 40 years old. His body wasn't old, but his mentality was much more mature. Hey, Big Brother Yang, look, isn't that singer Lin Mu-en? Ding Xiang suddenly noticed something and pointed at the young man on the stage with a guitar. Lin Mu-en? Yang Yi remembered this name. He turned his head and saw that the band had already left the stage. The singer on the stage was the young man he met twice. The first time was when he wanted to find a job and came to his coffee shop to apply for a pianist position. The second time was when he borrowed his piano to play a new song for his girlfriend. It turned out that he was a resident singer in this bar. Big Brother Yang, don't you remember him? Ding Xiang saw that Yang Yi didn't say anything and asked. I remember. Let's listen to a song. He can sing a Cantonese song. It's not bad. Yang Yi nodded and smiled. In Yang Huan's residence, Yang Huan and she sat cross-legged on the sofa facing each other. Yang Huan supported her face with her hands and stared at Shi. Shi followed her aunt's example. She put her arms on her thighs and supported her face with her hands. She tried hard to raise her eyes and look into her aunt's eyes. "Auntie, I feel so bored. When will my papa come back?" She said word by word while pouting. In fact, her mouth was squeezed out by her palms. "Your papa won't come back so soon." Young Huan was still not convinced. She felt that she couldn't just give up like this. She had to find a way to make she happy. Otherwise, it would be too embarrassing for her. Suddenly, young Huan had an idea. She straightened up and slapped her thighs. I remember now. You can tell stories, right? You said before that you often tell stories to your friends in kindergarten." "Yes, Auntie. Do you want me to tell you stories?" She was interested. She blinked her big eyes and asked cheerfully. If their roles were reversed, young Huan would be very willing to let she tell her stories. She could just lie down comfortably and listen to it. There was no need to work so hard. However, she was an adult. She should take care of she, not she. If she had to let she tell her stories, how could Sister Huan show her face in this world in the future? Therefore, young Huan said with a smile, "That's what I think. You can tell stories, and I can act." She was the only one who dared to say that she could act after learning some basic acting skills from Guazi and Qin Wen. However, she believed her. Her little mouth was as round as a duck's egg. "Oh!" she exclaimed and looked at her auntie in surprise. "Then we can play a game like this. You tell stories, and then I will act according to your story." Young Huan said with a smile, "What do you think? This is a good idea, right?" She clapped her little hands happily and said, "Great, great. This is so fun." However, what story should she tell her auntie? She thought for a while and decided to tell her a new story that her father told her not long ago. Long time ago, there was a beautiful girl who was as beautiful as she. She jumped off the sofa and said with joy, "Wait a minute. She. Sit on the sofa and tell me. I will act downstairs." Young Huan carried she back. "Okay." She nodded and said, her name was Little Exin. Papa said that she didn't have a mom, only a second mom. Then the second mom was not her real mom, so she didn't like her. She bullied Little Exin, and her two older sisters made her work. She was so pitiful. Yes, she was working. Young Huan found a rag and wiped her face. She even knelt on the ground and wiped the floor. Yes, Little Exin's clothes were always very dirty. She didn't have any nice clothes to wear, she continued. "Clothes? I didn't have any clothes to wear." Young Huan pretended to be pitiful and fell to the ground, wiping her tears. Auntie, you are so awesome." She clapped her little hands and praised. Go on. Young Huan was completely interested. She scratched her little head and recalled what her father said. Then she said, "Then, Little Exin couldn't go dancing. Her second mom and older sisters went dancing. Why couldn't I go dancing?" Sob. Young Huan stretched out her hands on the ground and pretended to be crying. Her performance was exaggerated and full of tension. If Guazi were to comment, he would say that she was a qualified drama actress. Why didn't he say that she was a qualified movie actress? Because that would be too untrue. If he said that she was acting in a drama, it would be better to exaggerate her performance. Why didn't he say that she was not good at acting? Of course, he couldn't say that directly, or he would be beaten to death by Sister Huan. Of course, young Huan's exaggerated acting skills were very effective in front of Cici. Cici liked this kind of person and couldn't stop giggling because of young Huan. Chapter 352. Exine was so sad. She had a lot of things to do and couldn't go out to play. Oh, Papa said she was too dirty, so everyone called her Cinderella. Of course, Shi's story was not as organized as Yang Yi's, but it was good enough that she could repeat it. Young Huan was still sobbing on the ground, but there were no tears in her clever eyes. She kept looking at Shi. Then a little fairy came out. "I'm a little fairy. Auntie, I'm here for you." Shi giggled, got down from the sofa, and skipped to Auntie's side. "Ah, little fairy." Yang Huan turned to look at Shi cooperatively. Her face was full of surprise and exaggeration, and her mouth was wide open. "Don't be afraid, Cinderella. I'm here to help you." Shi looked down at Yang Huan's eyes. She patted her sides and said, "Do you want to dance?" "Yes, even in my dreams." Yang Huan sniffed and pretended to be meek. This time, she was not so exaggerated. "Then I'll let you go." "Magic. Magic." She waved her little hand in the air and drew a cute circle. This was the magic trick that Yang Yi taught her, but it lacked a small magic wand. Yang Huan blinked his eyes in confusion. What did she change? "I turned a big pumpkin into a carriage. I also made a beautiful dress for you and a pair of super beautiful crystal shoes." Afraid that Auntie could not understand, she imitated her father and explained, "The crystal shoes are like glass. They're super beautiful." It was the first time that Yang Huan had heard such a magical story. She was a little attracted. Fortunately, she had the self-cultivation of an actress. She jumped up from the ground and pretended to hold the dress. She tiptoed and turned around. Then she exclaimed, "Wow, they're really beautiful." "Hee hee." She stepped back with a smile. She climbed back to the sofa, but instead of sitting down, she knelt and straightened her body. Then she said excitedly, "Okay, you can go dance now." "Okay, I'm going to dance." Yang Huan pretended that she was sitting in the carriage. When they arrived at the ball, she turned around and started dancing. "Wait a minute. You have to come back before 12 o'clock. She thought of something and jumped down again. She ran to Little Ant and said, Because I can't make it appear again, I can't go back." "Yes, yes." Yang Huan nodded vigorously. She found the story more and more interesting. While Yang Huan was dancing, Guazi and the others were also dancing. After quite a while, they came back from the dance floor in satisfaction. Guazi and Wang Chao unzipped their jackets and opened their jackets. Zhu Liang even took off his jacket and draped it over his shoulder, looking very chic and cool. Long Ni's face was also flushed from jumping, and she looked excited. With this, the drunkenness from drinking a few glasses of wine was evaporated by sweat. They ordered some more drinks. "Did you have fun?" Yang Yi looked at his watch and asked with a smile. There was still half an hour left. They had to go back after half an hour. Yang Yi was still thinking about his daughter. He wondered if she was unhappy at his sister's place. "Very happy. I used to think that the bar was messy, so I didn't dare to come here. Now, I feel that it's not a big deal." Zhu Liang was not as careful as before. Ping! Clang! Before Zhu Liang could finish his sentence, the sound of a bottle breaking came from behind. The music on the stage stopped. Zhu Liang shrank his head in fear. The others also became nervous. Something happened, but it was not them. Yang Yi frowned slightly and looked toward the direction of the sound. It came from the stage. On the stage, Lin Mu was holding his guitar. He was standing there in a daze and panic. In front of him was a broken bottle. "Ah! It's Lin Mu en." Ding Xiang covered her mouth and exclaimed, "Who's Lin Mu en?" Guazi turned around and knelt on the sofa in the booth. He looked at the stage with his butt up. He wanted to watch the show. "You jinx!" Wang Chao grumbled to Zhu Liang in a low voice. This time, he was well behaved. He shrunk his head, pulled down the conspicuous red hairband on his head, and put it in his trouser pocket, afraid that his head would explode because of this thing. The person who threw the bottle also stood up. It was a drunk man in a leather jacket. His breath reeked of alcohol as he pointed at the stage and shouted, "Sing! Sing my ass! It's fine. Chinese people don't sing Chinese songs. You sing. What kind of bird language are you singing?" His tongue was curled up. His voice came. Fortunately, the music had stopped and everyone was watching. Yang Yi only heard some of it. I'm singing a Cantonese song. It's also a Chinese song. Lin moved, and was a little unconvinced. He held it in and whispered, Mother****, you're in Zhongqing. What the hell are you singing? Cantonese songs. Do you think you're in Hong Kong? Mother****, are you looking down on me? The man in the leather jacket was probably drunk. He waved another bottle and shouted. It was as if he was going to throw the bottle at Lin Mu and... Ah! Ding Xiang covered her mouth nervously and fearfully. She looked at Lin Mu and worriedly. Guazi turned around and looked at Ding Xiang. He scratched his head and said to Yang Yi, Brother Yang, that person seems to be Sister Ding Xiang's acquaintance. Why don't you help him? Yang Yi glanced at Guazi speechlessly. He wanted to say that Ding Xiang's familiarity with Lin Mu and was not much higher than Yang Yi's. Yang Yi said lightly, Don't worry, the bar has its own security. Yes, it's better for us to avoid trouble. Zhu Liang said in fear. As Yang Yi expected, 2 security guards with walkie-talkies appeared. They were persuading the man in the leather jacket. Of course, whether it was persuasion or warning, it was unclear. Mother****, tell us to get out. Do you want to close the bar? Do you know who I am? The man in the leather jacket broke away from the 2 security guards and shouted. The man in the leather jacket's companions also stood up. They were 2 men in suits. They were almost drunk. They said drunkenly, Don't you know our boss Huang? Call your boss here. The man with the leather jacket was reminded. He waved the wine bottle and shouted, Call your old lay here. F***ck, every time I come here, I spend tens of thousands of yuan on wine. Old lay dares to push me, a distinguished guest, away? The 2 security guards looked at each other. The man in the leather jacket called out their boss's surname. Maybe he really knows him. They did not dare to neglect him. They told the head waiter through the walkie-talkie to help inform their boss. At the same time, they humbly apologized to appease the man's mood. Only Lin Mu and was left standing on the stage. He did not know what to do. He had never encountered such a thing before. It's not that the bar has never had such a thing, but this was the first time it happened to him. Lin Mu and was just a singer. How could he know what to do? On the other side, Yang Yi looked at the 2 security guards and slightly frowned. Wang Chao, Xiao Zhu, you 2 take Long and I back first. Take a taxi and go straight back to school. Yang Yi took out a few hundred yuan bills and handed them to Wang Chao. Okay. Zhu Liang was worried that there would be a problem. He quickly nodded, but nervously asked, Brother Yang, what about you? What about you guys? Don't worry about me. You guys go first. Anyway, my car can't seat so many people. Also, Xiao Gua, you and Ding Xiang go to the parking lot and wait for me. The car keys are here. Get in the car first. Start the engine. Yang Yi stuffed the keys to Guazi. I'll be there in a moment. Guazi was not drunk, and his eyes were still very clear. His 2 eyeballs rolled around, and then he said hesitantly, Big Brother Yang, I'm drunk now, so I can't drive. I'll wait for you, okay? Sister Ding Xiang, take the keys and get in the car first. Hey, I don't know how to drive either. Ding Xiang pushed his hand away and mustered up her courage to say, I'll go with you guys. These 2 were really loyal to their friends. Their pretense was full of flaws. Okay, I'm not going to do anything. Don't worry. Hurry up and wait for me in the car. With you guys here, I'll be in more trouble. Yang Yi waved his hand in annoyance and amusement. You're tuning in to the Narrate and Escape YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.